All right, I think we're live.
More people.
I think we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the auspicious occasion. We are on CoCoTALK episode 20. We got a bunch of people in there. Hopefully, we'll have a bunch more as we progress. But let's just go around the room and say hi to who's here, and then we'll get into some introductions, especially for some newer faces to the group. So we have with us the lovely and talented Mark Overholzer. We have David Ladd. We have Ron Delvaux. Is that how I pronounce your name, Ron?
Delvaux.
Delvaux. Whoa. Yeah. All right. We have Richard Lorbieski. We have the madman himself, Simon Jonasson, Richard Cavell, and Wayne Campbell. How you doing, everybody?
Doing good.
Great.
Okay, and Glenn Hewlett is in the chat now. So Glenn says, I am here. And Nicole just stopped by the chat. So this is kind of a interesting landmark that I think we've reached here, because when we started CoCoTALK, it was a couple of weeks before CoCo Fest, and we were basically just talking about CoCo Fest, right? And so, you know, we had lots to talk about as we were excited for CoCo Fest. And Curtis Boyle has just joined us from the Great White North. How's it going, eh?
Oh, not too bad.
And from down under, guys doing? Good, down under, Nick Marentes is with us. G'day, Nick.
G'day, how are you?
G'day. So yeah, I didn't expect that we would still be doing the show 20 weeks from now. I didn't expect it would be weekly. I figured after CoCo Fest maybe things would die down a little bit. The interest might wane. And for whatever reason, we have not run out of things to talk about for 20 weeks now. So I think that's definitely worth a round of applause. Yay. And so I thought it would be interesting for this week's show is rather than even try to have a topic, it's just going to be completely free form. I'd like this to be what we call the CoCo Community Chat, and we're just going to let anybody talk about anything they want to talk about. There's no agenda. There's no necessary topic. There is no prerequisites to be a member of this talk. There never has been, but I think some people think, well, only so-and-so get to be on the show. Not technically anybody's allowed to be on. We're just extending that official invitation. And if you're watching now, even though it is a little bit difficult, if you want to try to send me a Skype request, I will try to juggle you in the call, because I like complications and confusions in my life. It really makes me happy. But yeah, so CoCoTALK number 20. I'll switch over to a slide here real quick, right? So this one is CoCo Community Chat, calling all Coco Nuts. Join us in a live open forum discussion about the Tandy Color computer. And you must add me on Skype. Unfortunately, with Skype, when we have a group call, I can't just add you in if you're a stranger. You have to send me a friend request. I have to have you as a contact, and then I can bring you in. But yeah, so we're gonna just talk about crap. I just clicked on the wrong thing. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about whatever we want to talk about. I actually have a few things to show off in the show. We've got a couple of demos. We've got a possible world premiere or two as well. So some bonus material in here. But yeah, 20 weeks. So a lot of you have been with me since day one. Curtis has been here. Nick, David, Mark Overholzer almost from day one. Simon's been joining us for discussions and interviews for a long time. What do you guys think about this crazy notion that for 20 weeks now we still get together and people actually tune in to listen?
It's awesome.
Strange. I think your point about you were worried about running out of stuff to talk about. I think this is kind of like the dog feeding its own tail, because having these discussions actually encourages people to continue their projects, to show them off, to come up with ideas that they've heard about, type of thing. So I think that actually this is helping fuel some of this extra development that's actually helping fuel the show. So they're kind of feeding each other.
Yep, Rick Adams at slot number 1 there.
Rick Adams, yes. Yeah, hopefully Rick will join us later. Rick is going out to sushi, which is one of my favorite things to eat. We'll go around the room and do some introductions. I do want to real quick just kind of not only shamelessly plug, but also just mention a kind of a promotional thing right now, because what Grant Leedy suggested was, he goes, hey, why don't you offer like a discount on your t-shirts? And I was like, well, that's a great idea, but I can't really control that t-shirt website. They have a promotion when they want to have a promotion. I can't just say, hey, can you do a promotion? The one thing I was able to do was I was able to do this, like on my DVDs. I can control the price of these because that's a website. I have control over the price. When it comes to the t-shirts, that cost is the cost. I can't reduce that cost, right? But what I've done since last week until today is if anybody wants to order either of my Color Computer Gameplay DVDs, they are 50% off. They are only $5 each. And this one here, the CoCo Fest 26, it has 10 game videos that are not even on my YouTube channel. They are exclusive. But what I really want to do is I really want to show you something even more exclusive. And I'm not sure how good this is going to look when I stretch it out here, but I'm switching screens here for just a second. But what we have to unveil today is, well, number one, all of my retro swag is on sale for 20% off. It just so happened the website made that available to us. So the promotional god smiled upon us today. So there's a promo code where you can order any of the CoCo t-shirts. But here's a new t-shirt, and it's really grainy. So let me pull up an image where I can make it bigger and you can see it. Because you guys, for those of you who don't know, so all of my artwork is designed by Joel M. Adams, who happens to be the son of Rick Adams, creator of Temple of Ram, Shanghai, Bomb Threat, you name it. And Joel has made all the artwork, and Joel made an exclusive image here. I don't know if you can see it now, but we now have a CoCoTALK t-shirt image. I don't know how clearly you can see that because I don't have it that big. But this CoCoTALK picture here, it's a picture of a CoCo sitting at a table with a microphone. He's got his thumbs up. He's holding a floppy disk. He's got a pair of glasses on, so he's an aging CoCo. And it says CoCoTALK. So this is kind of like a cool little design that we just had done. And so everybody right now is seeing this for the first time. This is on my website, and you can get this as a t-shirt, coffee mug, a mouse pad, you name it. So I think this is kind of a cool drawing. So I'm really glad that Joel has been doing a lot of this artwork. If you notice the picture before of the CoCo cartoon guy, the one that says I'm a CoCo nut and all these other things, he's drawn all of those. And so I just think it's really cool that we have this thing now. So we now have an official logo for the show. And we've also got an official domain name as of today as well. So I've registered the domain name CoCoTalk.live. And so look for more things to come right now. Currently, if you go to CoCoTalk.live, it is only going to just go to basically the playlist on YouTube of the old videos. But in the future, we'll probably have a website and maybe more things to show off. So CoCoTalk is becoming a thing, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, if anybody wants to order a CoCoTalk shirt or an I'm a CoCo Nut shirt or anything else, this weekend is a good time to do it with 20% off. All right, and shameless plug. Sorry, that took a long time. So why don't we go around the room?
I was sleeping.
Why don't we go around the room, and we'll start with our newest guest to the show who's not been on before. Ron, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, what got you into computers, and what are you doing today as far as the retro hobby is concerned?
Well, I've collected a whole bunch of Radio Shack stuff over the years. I started in '83. I bought a 64K CoCo and 2 disc drives and a color TV that came with it. And I've collected stuff ever since. I'm a sign artist. I painted signs for a living. Most of all of my life I've been self-employed. I belonged to a color computer club in Toledo. And we had a pretty good-sized club. We had a lot of fun. I'm a user. I don't program. I use all kinds of software. I've had a DS69. I love to play with that thing. I used to go and make sketches on CoCo of signs I would do. And sometimes I digitized the building and I put the sign on the building, and I did a lot of that stuff before it was really cool.
Ah, neat.
So that's me. I live in Fountain Hills, Arizona.
Neat. And what kind of retro machines do you currently have around the house that you beat up on?
I have many CoCo 2s, 3 CoCo 3s, 2 Model 4s, a Model 3, 2 Model 100s, a whole bunch of printers, lots of software, lots of old software, Model 1. I have just tons of stuff.
Wow. You got room for all that, huh?
A lot of it's in the garage, and I'm going through boxes to remember all the stuff I have. That's what I've been posting.
Yeah, that's been neat.
Yeah, there's a lot of rare hardware you have in there too, like stuff that a lot of people have not seen.
Yeah, well, there was a guy in New York. I used to live in Rochester, New York, and he got sick and passed away. And I knew of him, but I'd never really met him. I met his brother, and his brother was had control of his estate, and he had somewhat of a nice collection. And for $300, I got boxes and boxes of software and hardware. And
that wouldn't be one of the Rosens, would it?
No.
Okay.
The guy's name was Piccoli, something like that. So anyway,
very cool, very cool.
I haven't seen much of, so I go through it now and then because there's a ton of it. My wife's really thrilled that I have it all.
Trust me.
I detect sarcasm.
Somehow, it's. I guess it's a challenge to find a wife who also shares the retro hobby. Are you coming to Tandy Assembly?
At this point, I don't know. I have a lot of stuff going on, so I have my mother's 85. I take care of her, and she's in good shape, but she's diabetic and she has issues, and it's tough to get away. But I might.
Okay. Well, good. It'd be great if... Hey, Neil Brookings is here.
Hey.
Neil Brookings is here. Gerard is here. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We got some more people joining us in chat. Don't forget to... definitely, we'd like to have you join us in Skype if you can. This is the community episode. We want to hear from as many people in the community as possible. Another fairly new and fresh face that has been on once or twice, but only briefly. But Wayne Campbell, how are you, sir?
Doing good.
We're delighted to have you as part of the program today. And if you want to maybe tell us a little bit about your history with vintage machines when they weren't vintage, including what are you doing with them today as a kind of a retro hobby?
Well, my beginnings actually were not with a computer. They were more without. In high school, they had a new computer class, and it was a punch card machine. And they showed us a demonstration by taking a stack of punch cards that was about 2 feet tall, ran them through the machine, the sorter, and then ran them through the computer, and it printed out a picture of an actress's face.
Oh, neat.
Kind of like a dot matrix printer.
Yeah.
And I was watching Star Trek at the time, the original series, and I looked at the guy in the class and I said, give me a computer screen and a keyboard to type on and a way to store my data, and I'll call it a computer. And I walked out of the room. I really wasn't interested. So, that was in the late 60s. And then in the 70s, when the Tandy TRS-80 Model 1 first came out, I was totally fascinated by the machine. So I used to go to the Radio Shack stores and look at them and look at all the hardware that was available, all the software that was available. I never could buy anything. I was too broke, but I loved to window shop, and I learned BASIC by reading the manuals. And it was about 1988 when I finally got my first computer, and it was a color computer too, a Korean model. I also had the MPI that was CoCo 3 compatible, but I didn't know it at the time. And I had a friend whose name was Paul Pollock. I have not seen him actually since then. I think 1989 or 90 was the last time I saw him. He was the one who got me started with OS 9. And I was running level 1 on my CoCo 2 for a little while, and there really wasn't a lot I could do with it. 64K of RAM, and half of it was used by the OS. So I played around with it as much as I could, and basically started learning Basic 09 on that machine. And then in '89, I got a Color Computer 3, and that was when I found out my MPI was CoCo 3 compatible. And I started getting more software for it. I can't even remember the titles that I had. I had it for a few years, but in 1993, I sold it all so I could buy a more mainstream computer. I figured if I was going to try to make a living at it, I may have to get into something that was going to be around a while. The CoCo was pretty much dead by then. So that's basically my history. I wrote DCOM in 1990, kept writing it until 93, and then I came back to it in the late 2000s when I managed to get a laptop computer that I could work with, and found out there were emulators. And I've been using emulators ever since. I'm currently using the Delta 3 emulator, VCC.
Okay.
So that's pretty much my history. It's not much.
No, that's neat. That's neat. Well, we'd like to have you on sometime too when we can talk more about DCOM. I think I know enough to be dangerous about that, but that's the one where you can basically decompile a basic 09 thing that's already been packed down.
Well, it's called decode these days, and basically it unpacks a packed iCode module.
Okay. Yeah, so we'd love to talk about that sometime when we revisit OS 9 for our follow-up. Very cool. Well, we're glad to have you, and feel free to chime in at any time as we're discussing things. As Ron continues to go through his array of of retro wares there. And
I was actually trying to ask him in chat here about what versions of some of that stuff he was showing. So
yeah. Very cool stuff.
Kind of a live history presentation of the CoCo.
Yes. So anybody else want to chime in any particular order and tell us a little brief history of your past to your present retro hobby stuff?
I think everybody's heard my history already, so I'm not going to...
Oh, hold on one second. Repeating. Well, let me see if I can add Richard. Richard says, well, I'm having trouble joining the Skype call, but I would like to say 10. Print, today is my 40th birthday. 20. Go to 10.
Happy birthday.
So today is Richard Cavell's birthday. Happy birthday, Richard.
Happy
40
birthday,
years.
Richard.
40 years young. Happy birthday, Richard. That's awesome. Any birth announcements while we're at? Anybody just have a baby by any chance? Anybody expecting engagements, wedding anniversaries?
I look like I'm expecting.
I ate a baby. Richard Lorbieski says, I'm reburning several CoCo 2s with the composite boards. That's kind of cool. Neil Brookings. Now, is this the real Neil Brookings? Well, the real Neil Brookings, please stand up. I'm not sure if this is Neil Blanchard or somebody else has assumed his alter identity of Neil Brookings, but Neil Brookings, and then Glenn Hewlett is here saying happy birthday. Yeah, so I don't think we've reached capacity for the Skype call. Richard, I'll try to add you back in one more time. Not on this call, Richard. I'm going to try to pull you into the call. All right. So, okay, I'm sorry, Curtis. I cut you off. Start over.
Oh, I'm just saying that, like, everybody's heard my story hundreds of times on the show already, so I'm not going to bore everybody by repeating it again. So, if you want to check out past episodes. Get those views up for Steve.
Are there any current projects you're working on, or anything you can share with us, or is you still working on some top secret stuff, or?
It's not top secret. I'm working on optimizing Rescue on Fractalus. I'm rewriting the 6809 code, and then after that is as optimized as I'm willing to spend the time on it, then I'll start optimizing for 609. It's already running about, I think, 20% faster, roughly, on a 6809. It's running about 40% faster on native 6309. But I'm on hold for a couple months here for work, so.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, I've seen a little bit of it. I'm looking forward to seeing maybe a little bit more. Davey Mitchell says he has a wedding anniversary on Friday. Jerry Adams says, I don't know if he's due or maybe his wife is due in February. Neil Brookings says, I really am myself. Yes, this is my real name. Okay. Richard Lorbieski says, yes, Curtis, heard your story so much. I have the director's cut.
I'm sorry.
Richard, the birthday boy, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Well, happy birthday, Richard.
Thank you very much, Steve, and hello, everyone, and thanks, everyone.
You want to tell us a little backstory and maybe talk about what you're working on now with the CoCo?
Yes, I used to live in England when I was a little boy. I spent most of my life in Australia. But when I was in England, when I was little, my dad bought me a CoCo 2. And it was one of those where it was marked as 32K, but it actually had 64K of RAM.
Nice.
And I later got a disk drive for it. And, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, it seems like when you stop speaking is when the waterfall kicks in behind you.
Yeah, but it's not me. It's not me doing it.
Okay. It could be. It's probably David Ladd. We'll blame it on him.
Okay.
You better just watch it there, Steve.
Okay. Anyway, when I was young, I started learning BASIC, and I always wanted to learn assembly. And that was when I was young in the mid 1980s, and now that I'm older, I'm able to sort of come back to it. So I've got a project of learning 6809 assembly.
Okay, that's cool. So you're working on assembly right now.
That's right. Yeah.
And you're kind of starting from scratch, no previous background or experience.
Well, I learned BASIC, of course, back.
Yeah, right, but
yeah. And I later moved to 68K. I had an Amiga.
Okay.
And I've learned C and C++ since then as well.
Okay.
So I've now got an adult sort of perspective on programming. So I want to go back to my childhood and sort of finish what I never got to do when I was a kid.
Right. So what are you doing to do that right now? What environment are you using to create assembly and compile and stuff like that?
I don't have any of the original hardware, unfortunately. But what I have is I've been using Kieran Anscombe's assembler, ASM 6809.
Okay.
And the Motorola 6809 Programming Reference Manual. And XRAW, also by Kieran.
Uh-huh.
And I've also been playing with MAME and MESS.
Okay.
And I've got 2 projects up on GitHub. I told you about one last week, and I've just started a second project that's oriented towards the CoCo.
Very cool, very cool. And if you want to repost those links when you get a chance, feel free to do that as well. And maybe sometime in the future when we have an assembly talk, we can maybe get you in on that too to talk about that. I have just a slightly similar thing where I always wanted to learn assembly and never did. And I never even learned any additional languages. So the only language I really learned was BASIC. So hopefully in the near future, I also want to kind of start that voyage of discovery. So I don't think, there's a lot of people that I've asked if they ever want to come in and talk about things, and I've had a lot of people say, well, I'm not sure if I want to talk about it because this is my first project, or I'm really not that experienced, or I'm not an expert. And honestly, I think that hearing it from a first-time point of view is probably more interesting to people like myself who don't do it, because you're not going to probably be talking too far over our head. And I think we're probably also going to kind of relate to where you are in the kind of beginning stages of your journey, So I know I'm definitely going to be interested in hearing some of the things you've discovered, hopefully in a few weeks from now when I start my assembly voyage too. So I just want to throw that out there to anybody, whatever you're doing, whether it's new or old or complicated or simple, or if it's your first project or whatever. I think this is a community that's interested of that and supports that, and I know I do, and I'm pretty sure the people on this show do. So I definitely want to encourage more people to just do a project and share your project with us, because we'd love to hear about it, even if it's you might not think it's anything that interesting, but I'm sure some of us will. So
yeah.
And who do we have on Facecam right now here for the first time? That's Karen. Hey, Karen. I've never seen your face before.
I don't think anybody has.
You're so privileged.
Welcome to the talk, Karen. We've got some international. We have Australia here. We've got Simon. You're in Denmark, right?
Yes.
And then we've got. So where are you at now, Richard? Did you say? You said you were born in UK, but you're in Australia now too?
Yep, sorry, I keep on muting my mic. I was born in Australia and I lived in England for a little bit when I was a little boy. And I worked in Australia and I retired, and now I've moved here. I'm in the northwest of England now.
And where are you residing now? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Near Blackpool in England.
Okay, so you're back in the UK. All right, so we've got Denmark, we've got the UK, we've got Australia, and all parts around the US. So I think we're covering some good corners of the globe today. So that's kind of cool. And welcome to the call, Karen.
Oh, he's gone.
We lost him.
Karen, darn it.
He'll call back. All right.
This
We have
damn
Neil.
thing.
There he is. Hey, Karen.
Welcome back.
Not sure what happened there.
So Richard, can you just tell us briefly, because I don't have time to pull up the GitHub, what is the project that you're working on?
The first thing I did was, I told you about that last week. Do you want to hear about that again?
Sure. I have a bad memory.
Okay, it's just a very small thing that measures the length of a C-style string using 6809 assembler. And, I mean, that actual code it's only like 11 bytes long. But it comes with a test suite, which has a basic program and 2 helper routines also written in assembler. And so it demonstrates, how a basic program can call a machine language program and, receive a result.
Very cool.
Playable.
And Karen is wearing his dragon shirt he mentioned. I don't know if we lost him again or if he just switched off of camera. But here he is. Let's see the dragon shirt. Hey, there we go. So I almost feel like we need to change the name of the show, but it's already, it's already been trademarked and patented, and the, all the legal filings are complete. So, but it's CoCoTALK, including Dragon, MC10, and other. That's a long name for a show, but yeah, we definitely welcome all members of the CoCo community and all of our cousins and uncles and sisters, the sober ones anyways. Drunk uncles can stay home. So yeah, we'd love to hear more about the Dragon and the MC10 and even the Brazilian clones for that matter. So welcome to the show, Karen.
Hi.
And since you're the latest one to join, last in, next to talk, how is Dungeons coming along? Is the last posting you put of the 1.0, is that the most current release? Have you tweaked that at all since then?
I've been very good. I've not touched it at all.
Okay.
I've called it done, and I've left it like that. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
As long as you don't have complaints, you're good.
Right. Okay.
Indeed, and nobody has yet. But that might be because nobody's played it.
So yeah, I'll need to download the latest version and start playing with that.
Yeah, just give me a few minutes. I might find something.
Right. Yeah.
As soon as you load it.
Simon's holding up his dragon in the background there. Hello, Simon. Simon's holding up his dragon.
Ooh, Dragon 32.
The Madman. Yes. And we're going to get to you, Simon. We're going to get to Simon's latest demos today, too, which is going to be kind of cool. Nice to have you, Karen. And so for those who don't know, Karen, you have created the XRoar emulator, which is one I've used quite a bit. Once I discovered the ability for it to artifact very well, I stopped using VCC for my CoCo 1 and 2 videos. And I like it. I think it's a great little product, and it's very user-friendly, and it gets the job done. So good on you.
It's been broken quite a lot recently.
I'm sorry, Kieran.
That's a great segue to switch over to David Ladd. Speaking of breaking things, so so David's been on the show quite a bit. I think David gave us his intro last week, so we'll cut through that. But David, I would love to have you kind of bring us up to speed, because it's been on the mailing list, it's been on Facebook. You have found some flaws in the floppy disk emulation that goes back to MAME, several versions ago. So these flaws you have discovered, and you're now communicating this, and we're now getting the proper authorities involved. I believe Interpol has been involved, and MI6 is here, and a few other people. And I believe we will hopefully get this fixed. But you wanna share some of that with us, and I'm gonna go take a nap while you do that, or?
Very funny. Well, most people usually use an emulator to play games. So in the case of what I found, it wouldn't affect people. But because I was using the emulator, like how I, MAME, like I used VCC, like how I used a real CoCo, I would have Nitrous 9, or back then OS9 Level 2, which I tested this with both. Actually, all 4 versions. But I had the operating system in Drive 0, and then I'd have, any development tools on Drive 0, and then normally my sources would be in Drive 1. So I'd be doing stuff, but in this case I was playing a game in Drive 1, when all of a sudden Nitrous 9 just went, I got nice purty screen, and it went bye-bye, and I'm like, that's not good. And I found that back in June. But it didn't take me until the floppy disk image got corrupted until it went from a annoyance to it was a issue, because now your disk image has had a chance of being corrupted. So that's when I brought it up, and Ron helped me get in contact with one of the devs, and then we went from there to get the issue started, trying to get a workable fix.
When you say Ron, you're talking about Ron Klein, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, so right now, one of the devs did put in a fix. I really wish William was here, because he's got some concerns about the floppy disk controller, how it's implemented in the emulator, because he feels that there still might be an underlying issue with how that works, which of course the current fix is working, but still it doesn't resolve what was causing the initial issue. But at least for now, it's usable and working.
Meaning you no longer corrupt your drives.
Right.
And what triggered this flaw? Switching from like disk 0 to disk 1 and back again, or?
Yes, because in my case, I had stuff working on Drive 0. I started working on Drive 1, and within a few seconds, Nitrous 9 locked up. So, and I'm like, what's going on? And once I found it was getting corrupted, I can't remember. Was it you, Curtis, that asked me about if it happened in Disk Basic too?
Yeah.
And then that's when I started writing some quick little basic programs just to do directories on the Drive 0 and Drive 1. And then later I added Drive 2, the third floppy drive. And yeah, you could tell right off the bat when you could see the directory from Drive 0 on Drive 1. Or if you started with Drive 1, you could see the directory from Drive 1 on Drive 0. So you knew there was an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's causing problems in RS-DOS too. Basically rapid switching of the disk drives.
So, but the underlying, what was going on in the source code, you'd have to ask a dev, because that's beyond me. Karen! But yeah, that's, yeah. I just knew how to cause the problem. The fix, not so much.
Right, and didn't you? I think you were telling me too that Karen actually had come up with a fix that worked, but was maybe rejected by MAME, and so then they came up with their own fix. And
Karen can describe that part, because he knows what's going on.
Oh yeah. Well, David did the brute force work of determining when the problem entered the code, so which version it started breaking in.
Okay.
And it was, you could tell that they switched over to a new sort of floppy underlying disk controller code between one version and the next. And it seems pretty obvious that what's breaking it was that they introduced a spin-up time to the drives. But the reason that was breaking it was because they also had a problem in the CoCo code, in that whenever you switch drives, it would turn the motor off for all the other ones. And so when it switched back to the other drive, the motor would then come on, and there'd be this spin-up time when the drive wasn't ready, and that's not how the real hardware behaves. The motor stays on for all drives all the time if the motor's on at all for real hardware. So while it's fixed, it's also a bit weird. This is what you were talking about. William Assel has concerns, because all these things should be checking that the drive is ready before they do anything, and that signal should be there anyway, but it's still breaking, and so a bit strange. What we have as a workaround doesn't really feel like a fix.
Okay. And
now, is that floppy controller used by some of the other machines in emulation? Like, is this going to affect more than just the CoCo series? And
yeah. If there is an underlying problem with the controller, then yes, it's used by quite a lot of things. It's the general Western Digital 17XX.
Very interesting. So David has had a history with trying to do all types of floppy hack type things, where you've in the past talked about how you were trying to emulate some non-standard floppy configurations to mimic what could be done on real hardware that was used for both copy protection methods and all kinds of other hacky things that work on real hardware but didn't always work on an emulator. And I guess there's maybe people have different opinions about the importance or significance of that, but I guess at the end of the day, if an emulator is supposed to emulate hardware, it's not unreasonable to expect it to do what the real hardware does. And if it doesn't, then bring it to somebody's attention and to hopefully get that addressed. I don't think that's necessarily like complaining or trashing or anything like that. And sometimes there might be something that, and I've heard Simon mention this too, since Simon and Kieran are both here. Simon's mentioned he's done things in the past that have broken XRoar, because when people start to get a virtual machine to work like a real machine, you start to discover one little component of the system that maybe wasn't accounted for or replicated properly. So I guess in a way it's kind of a good thing if you can find these things and address them. And it's even better that there are people out there who are able to and willing to do that for us,
Yeah.
I have a question. Kieran, you said that the floppy disk controller code in MAME is used by more than one machine. Do other machines also leave the drive motors on?
I have no idea. Abstract enough that can be per architecture. You have to look at each one.
So I'd say that the MAME developers have written a standard driver, and in most cases other computers just don't leave the drives on. Being a generic piece of code being used by multiple emulators, it's finding a problem in the CoCo, which wants the drive motors on, like you say. Maybe it's only a problem on the CoCo than so much other computers.
I would be surprised, Nick, if that's the case, though, because there's an advantage to leaving all the motors on. If you're copying between disks, you don't have to wait for the spin-up for every single drive, so it actually speeds up your I/O. So I don't see why other computers would have made it purposely slow.
And here's the other thing to that same question, is that the Western Digital controller chips, when you're reading data from the floppy, if the motor is off, but yet you still have the drive selected and you try to read from it, the chip is supposed to time out saying it couldn't get any data from the drive in a certain allowed time. And in this particular case, doing a directory from 0 to 1, we're getting the previous drive instead of it going, what you would have expected, some error message.
Like IO error or something like that, right?
Which I guess Kieran would have to either confirm or deny my statement in that. But if the motor was off or it wasn't spun up in time to read the drive, it should have errored out, in my opinion.
Yeah, it should have reported the ready state. The emulated machine should have pulled that, and should then not have gone on to issue a read sector command, but it did get that far. So something's
maybe
wrong.
It is. Maybe it is, but the CoCo, since it's so used to having the drive motors on, assumes it's already spun up.
So, Nick, are you asking, is the question a problem with the controller code or with the drive code? Is that what you're trying to get to?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that maybe it's so much that the driver in MAME may be working, but the CoCo is expecting, because I know Tandy did have a funny system as far as selecting drives, and maybe that's not what's being taken into account in MAME. They're just trying to use it, by the book, so to say. But the CoCo didn't do things by the book in reference to turning drive motors on and off. The TRS-80 Model 1 did the same thing. So, anyway.
Yeah, I know they used the side select line to do your drive 4 selection, which limited you to single-sided drives if you did that. But
anyway. It's an interesting development. It'll be interesting to see how it finally all pans out. And so, David Ladd just may go down in history as the guy who found the bug, the bug that broke 1,000 CoCos in May. So.
Thanks a lot, Steve. I'm sure Karen already hates me already.
David's kind of the emulator version of Stevie's collision detection for games.
No, that's cool though. It's been interesting to kind of hear this kind of unfold. And so Richard was asking before, do we have somebody in the community do we have a community MAME contact? And I think we have some for some CoCo stuff, but I don't know that we have a specific contact for every single component of MAME, like when it comes to the floppy controller. But it seems like Ron Klein has got some pull now because he's been doing a lot of MAME work. Who else was Tim Lindner? Is it Eric Gavrluk in our CoCo group that has kind of his own fork of it as well? That he has.
And if I remember correctly, the main person in MAME that's kind of in charge of the CoCo is Nathan Wood still. Is that correct?
I think that's what Ron was saying. There was another dev I was talking to, which actually there's another topic related to that I want to bring up since we're talking about the MAME dev team and something that was brought up. But yeah, Nathan, I guess, has been Ron's main go-to for this. And I guess he's been one of the people that's been trying to keep the CoCo stuff going, but he's not like 100% devoted to the CoCo, but he's at least been one of the people that knows how most of the CoCo stuff is supposed to work, I understand.
Yeah, no, Nathan's been involved with the CoCo side of back then. It was still MESS for at least a decade. I reported bugs to him way back, like back when MESS was in version 0.042 or something like that.
So, but yeah, I was chatting, it'd be a couple days ago now, with one of the devs about the floppy stuff, and then we got on to the Orchestra 90 and discussing some of the things that many people didn't know about the Orchestra 90. That at the title screen, the nice orange title screen, if you hit Shift Enter, and then after you do that, you get to the normal Orchestra 90 ROM screen where you can score. Well, as soon as you hit a P and then you hit Shift Enter, it will play the music while the CoCo is in its faster speed mode, so that way the audio is produced at a higher fidelity. And that was something that was not in the documentation for the Orchestra 90.
Okay.
So, and then I guess there was a update to the source code yesterday for MAME, and one of the files was the CoCo_orc90.cpp. Well, Kieran went through and looked at the repository and found that dev that I was talking to made mention of that information I gave him about the Orchestra 90 in the sources. So I was like, wow.
Very cool. Does that mean your name is in the source code now too?
Unlikely. Very unlikely.
Yeah, it says Dave busted something again.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's very cool that there's people out there who are doing so many unique things with an emulator that we're finding ways to find holes in the emulator. But I guess in a way that makes the emulator better over time. Richard's saying there's over 1,500 credited developers of MAME. That's a lot.
That's incredible.
That's
But yeah, as far as the emulators go, and this comes to everything, the CoCo community has used their computers in so many different ways. It's hard to account for every possible combination of use scenarios that could push the hardware. So
that's kind of like Microsoft trying to develop Windows. You know, there's so many different hardware platforms that Windows can run on. It's almost impossible to have it tested with every combination of every system and peripheral and component. I guess it's kind of a similar thing here. There's so many things that can be done with the system. We just can't test it all. But I mean, you know, I guess the good thing is that as they're addressed, we can get them worked on. Unlike VCC at the moment, if there's a problem, you live with it. Whereas at least with XROR and MAME, if there's a problem, they'll solve it. So I guess that's a good thing.
Time permitting, of course.
Yeah, the darn real life keeps getting in the way.
Yeah. Now that's definitely interesting. So who have we not heard from so far? Richard Lorbieski, you want to give us a little brief mini bio on your past, present, and future?
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, because I had my mic mute. Anyway, I had started with the CoCo, I guess, the adventure with Tandy when I was hired at Tandy Computer Assembly in San Antonio. I had worked as a tech, and then I moved up, promoted all the way up to repair manager. I left there about 86, and from there I was basically, I really enjoyed using the CoCo for a while. To about 93, I sold everything off and went into the MS-DOS world, and I had a computer store. I had an ISP, and I've been kind of inactive with the CoCo community for probably about 20 years, and it was recently, about a year ago, that I got back into it, and currently I'm working at a automation place that restores and repairs industrial controllers. And I also have a side business on eBay, and I enjoy what I'm working on is restoring old computers and putting them back to life and putting them back, try to get them to the original condition. And I also sell the 6309 processors. And I am also a sponsor at Tandy Assembly, and I'll be there in October.
Excellent.
Does that mean you'll be doing 609 upgrades for people that request them at the show?
Yes, I'm going to drive up there, so I'll bring up all my equipment up there. So I'll do it while people are there. So
like even on a CoCo 3, you're going to do a complete brain transplant?
I can do that.
Wow. And Ron's holding up all kinds of processors there. We got some
Intel
386
processors at the wazoo there. That's great. Well, we definitely appreciate you having you on the calls, Richard. It just blows my mind like my whole journey, which is probably similar to many. While some of you have probably never technically left the community or left the CoCo, I don't think my story is that much uncommon. Where you move on to other things in your life, and then at some point in time you kind of revisit and reacquaint yourself with that thing. And so for me, it's been about 2 years. It's kind of starting with YouTube, and in those 2 years, the things that I have learned about the CoCo that I didn't know when the CoCo was new, the things I've learned about all the new projects, hardware and software, and most importantly, the whole concept of a retro community, and especially the CoCo community. These were just concepts that were very foreign to me. that I couldn't even have imagined. But it has been really cool. So, you mentioned you're back into it for a year now, and you're definitely, it's great having you. It's great having everybody here in this call. The fact that we're able to have this call, that we're doing this call, and that there's people who get together to talk, and there's people who watch us live and view it later. It's really cool. It's kind of, I'm not sure if it's validating, but it's definitely, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's satisfying, if nothing else, that, there's something you enjoy and that other people enjoy it at a similar level that you do. There's a level of fulfillment to that, I think. And that's one of the things I have experienced in like my 2-ish years of, kind of being on this journey of rediscovering the CoCo, being part of a community, and still learning every day, every week, learning new things about, this system. It's been really, really cool. Who else have we not talked to right now? We're going to save you for last, Simon, because when we talk to you, we're going to go ahead and jump in and look at your demos. How about Nick Morentis, the Thunder from Down Under? How are you, sir?
Hey, g'day. Not too bad. What is there to say about me that everyone doesn't already know, eh?
That's pretty presumptuous. I got 2 words for you, Nick Morentis.
Wow.
Is this where we start talking about OS9?
Stop bashing OS9, Nick.
I started on the TOS-80 Model 1 in way back in 1980. First thing I pretty well started doing there was to learn how to program it, and my goal was to write games and become a millionaire. But no.
Half of it.
How's that working?
It's an ongoing project.
It's a million stretch over 50 years, apparently. So
millions of hours. I don't know about the dollars, but so I started on the TOS-80 Model 1. Wrote about 6 games, commercial grade games. Didn't make much money on it because it was a sort of thing back then where there was no internet. It was very hard to tell people about the programs, and I just relied on selling the programs at user groups. So for a kid in high school, it was pocket money. After the CoCo, after the TOS-80 Model 1, I jumped across to the Color Computer. I think it was a Color Computer 1 I bought first, and later a Color Computer 2. And I just went straight into that in assembly language programming. It was a jump from a Z80 to a 6809, which I thought would be difficult at the time, but it was actually surprisingly easy since the 6809 is a much more powerful processor. It made things easier. Started programming. I wrote Neutroid on the Neutroid 2, I think, on the Color Computer first, and then Donut Dilemmas a year or so after that. And again, selling it to user groups, no internet again, so it was only a limited number of sales. I did manage to get Tandy in Australia to sell it, so Donut Dilemma was my first real seller, selling it into all the Tandy stores in Australia. So finally my road to becoming a millionaire was on.
Do you know roughly how many units of those were sold, without divulging dollars? But do you know how?
3,500, which for a kid in high school was pretty good.
That's the number of units sold?
The number of units, yeah. Profit-wise, you only really make about $2 per package. And I had to do it all, basically, for Tandy. I duplicated the tapes, I made the packaging, I shipped it to Tandy.
Wow.
So, yeah. Tandy basically just had to receive the goods and send them out to their stores. And it sold, I think, for $20. So...
Okay.
I was the one making most of the money, but hey, I was a kid and I thought, this is it. This is the start to my road.
3,500 is a decent number.
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah, there's 700 or 750 stores in Australia, so each of those got 2 or 3 copies, whatever. I was hoping to get into the American markets, and that was a plan I had for later on. That was around the time when the Color Computer 3 was then released. And I started writing games for the Color Computer 3, of which I think it was it Rupert Rhythm that was my first one, and then Space Intruders, and they were sold by Tandy as well. They sold 500 copies each. So by 1988-89, things were starting to dwindle in the CoCo community. I sold more Donut Dilemmas because I happened to catch the Christmas. My program was bundled with the Color Computer during the Christmas of 1986.
Nice.
So yeah, hence I got extra sales that way. I delved into a bit of hardware and all that. Then I returned into the Color Computer programming, where I did Cosmic Ambush with I was really making my final steps to become a millionaire. I had plans to make that into a ROM pack and sell it to Tandy in the US. But unfortunately, as luck would have it, halfway through development, of course, Tandy decided to drop the Color Computer, and that was game over. Basically, soon after I left the Color Computer market or community from that point for about another 7-8 years, I think it was. I had an Amiga, so I got more involved in the Amigas and a PC as well. But around 1999, I decided to just by then I had the internet, of course. I started to look around. I was just curious to know, well, where's this Color Computer gone? And surely it must be dead by now. And I found that there was still a community around, and it was still active. And that's when I bumped into a Sockmaster, as we all know. And I saw some of the demos that he'd been doing, and the bouncing balls and all that. And I thought, gee, this is pretty good. It shows how the Color Computer still had things to be discovered. And that got me interested in the Color Computer again. And I set up my Color Computer. I never threw it out, so it was just boxed away. So I set it all up and got back into the Color Computer and started, at that point I wrote, I think it was Pac-Man first, which I attended the PenFest 99 and showed it off there and sold it. And then I immediately started Gatecrasher, and I attended PenFest 2000, where I think I unveiled the finished program there. And well, I've been in the Color Computer industry since then, doing all sorts of stuff. My latest game was released last year, Popstar Pilot.
Here.
Well, I was surprised actually how well it did sell. I mean, I thought by now surely the Color Computer is dying. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But it sold very well, and with every program I was learning more and more new things. It's always been a learning process. So with Popstar Pilot I tried a few more things, always being encouraged by the great work of Sockmaster, trying to be a Sockmaster myself, maybe one day. But anyway, there was a few features I wanted to try and push into Popstar Pilot, and all the horizontal scrolling and a few other effects. So that was a success, and it sold well, and the CoCo community showed to me that there was a healthy industry there for people who produce good software. The support's been great. So because of that success, not quite millionaire, but I figured if I keep at it, I might get there. So I started another game called Gunstar, which I have a blog page up for, and I'm still working on that. Haven't gotten too far in because, as always, I tend to get sidetracked on other projects. Popstar Pilot took 3 years, although that wasn't 3 years of programming. That was because I was sidetracked with so many other things. That's the beauty about the color computer. There's so many things to discover. You can't do them all, all at once, although you try. So you get sidetracked, and then you have to come back to the original project. And Gunstar is much the same. I started it, and now I've gotten sidetracked because one thing I'd like to put in Gunstar is music. So I'm not really, never done music in any of my games, and I thought, well, surely, you know, I might try become try get some of that skill that Simon has. So here I am trying to learn how to do music, and I've sidetracked to doing a music program, which is coming along. It's starting to come together. The idea is I have music playing, but not during the game though. Not like Simon's efforts there. His are more optimized for minimal cycles. Mine's going to be just music for playing, say at the title screen or game over. So I'm just working on that. And the I don't know if you've followed the blog page I have, but the sound player I'm doing is trying to mimic the sound chips that we're seeing everyone playing with at the moment. So far it's working. It sounds very similar to the sound chips, but it's all in software. So that's where I'm up at the moment. Yeah.
Very cool.
And still working on trying to become a millionaire.
What is it you're emulating there, Nick? Is it the SN chip or is it the AY chip?
The one I'm just taking the basic architecture of those chips, which is 3 voices, a noise channel, and all the ADSR functions. That's I've mimicked that sort of hardware. It's not register compatible with the chips. I'm just trying to make it a work alike.
Okay, I think Kieran could probably chime in there actually.
Yep, go.
Well,
sorry, what now?
Michael Brandt in the chat was wanting to know, is Popstar Pilot ever going to have an OS 9 version?
That's a slideshow presentation version.
Yeah, not likely.
Nick's going to get right on that.
If we get a sound card driver, he might attempt a game maybe under Nitrous 9, but it wouldn't be Popstar.
No.
Tacto, I think what I heard.
I think everyone knows that I'm pretty anti OS 9 when it comes to not that I hate it. Not that I'm not saying that it's a rubbish OS. It just doesn't suit the type of stuff that I do.
Good stuff, good stuff. Well, Simon just stepped out, so when Simon comes back, we'll get Simon. So, Mark Overholzer, we did hear from you last week, but do you want to just tell us like what's going on with you right now, and as far as any projects or what kind of retro hardware you're tinkering with?
Sure, I'll keep it real short. So I'm new to the CoCo realm. I got one like 5 years ago with a Apple IIe Platinum, and it came with a brand new inbox CoCo 3. Yeah, what am I going to do with that? Ooh, it's got a 6809. Now that's something different. So decided to keep it. Since then, I've gotten 2 more CoCo 2s and a CoCo 1. But anyway, my thing is like I'd like to network games. I'm thinking about networking games. So I'm trying to work on networking stuff for the CoCo. Got some solutions for the Apple. And I want to make multiplayer stuff. You know, that could be text adventure or graphic or whatever. So I'm getting that direction slowly. So anyway, that's
very cool. That would be of interest to me at some point in time too. So yeah, maybe when you're ready and I have a game that I'm working on, we can combine those 2 efforts.
That would be great. That's my idea, is to try to loop it into everything.
Yeah.
Build, make a library that would allow people to take their game and make it multiplayer and just not local on the one machine, but networked.
Yeah, so. Yeah. One of the most recent blog postings, I don't know if you guys read John Linville's blog post, but he's talking about how we can put a color computer basic program on a ROM cartridge. And so you basically save out the basic program as basically a binary file. You figure out where it is in memory, you save it out, you put a little loader in front of that, you stick all that in the ROM, and when it boots up, it kind of loads it back in and automatically runs it for you. So it seems like there's even a working solution to put BASIC on a cartridge. So as everybody in the community is working on different bits and pieces, it's going to be kind of nice to see some certain people assemble those things. So the fact that we have the injection molded cartridges for those who want to put a product on a cartridge, you don't have to invent that wheel. You know what I mean? It's already there. For somebody who wants to make a network platformed application at some point in time, hopefully you'll have that solution, much like we have DriveWire and we have other things. So it's really nice when people are working on these little projects that become kind of components that we can all use to assemble for future projects. It's pretty cool.
That's the idea.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And so that's what's really what I find interesting, is that you have some people who are just really good at software. You've got some people who are really good at hardware. And then you've got some that are kind of both. When you have like somebody like Ed Snyder, who not only does he make some hardware, but he's writing the media players for him. And, like John Linville develops hardware and software. So it's interesting. Since I don't understand either one of those things to any great depth, it's hard for me to imagine understanding both. I'm thinking I need to pick a poison and let me try to learn that poison. But yeah, I can't learn. I would imagine that understanding hardware helps writing software and vice versa. I understand. I would imagine that having some parallel understandings would help both areas.
Yes.
But me being a mere mortal, I'll be happy just to learn software at some point in time. And speaking of not mere mortals, but superhuman intellect and technical prowess, we have Simon Jonason, the Madman. We'll save the best for last here, because we have one of your demos too, Simon. So do you want to give us a little mini history of what you've done in the past and kind of what you're banging on right now currently?
I could do, yeah. What did I do? First computer ever was the CoCo 2. My dad as a Christmas present back in 1985. Played around with that for a couple of years, done some basic programming, started getting into a bit of assembly. Then I moved from the UK to Denmark. Excuse me for a moment. Door, so I didn't disturb the family. I moved from the UK to Denmark, and CoCo was never actually imported to Denmark. The only CoCo-esque thing in Denmark was the Dragon.
Okay.
So I just ended up doing what everyone else done, which was the C64. And I just learnt 6502, and I just started doing demos and games and stuff like that. And it was an outlet somewhere. And I moved from the C64 to, I think when I started studying computer science, actually, I moved from the C64 to the PC, doing all kinds of demo stuff and that on the PC as well. And then after I got my degree, I just, okay, well, fine, now I need to work for a living. I ended up being a professional programmer. Mostly web-based stuff today. I think about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I was digging through a lot of stuff in the attic, and my son, I says, well, look at this, this is C64, let's see what it can do. Got some games on the C64 now, and cool, and I thought, well, hang on a minute. Right down in the corner, right down the back, there's a CoCo 2. So let's go and grab that. And after I grabbed the CoCo 2 about 4 or 5 years ago, I thought, well, okay, there's a lot of stuff you've learnt since when you played with that back in the day. So why not try to put some of that into practice on a CoCo 2? Which is what I've basically been doing for the past 4 years. And for me, it's about, okay, well, someone says it can't be done. Well, I better prove it can be done.
And there's a lot of that goes around, it seems like.
Yeah, that's just me, you know. It's just a case of, well, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's a tradition of that, because when you look at some of the stuff that Sockmaster has done and how Nick has mentioned how he met Sockmaster, and it's kind of good when you see somebody do something that kind of inspires other people to want to do something like that, you know. Here we go, Ron holding up more hardware here right now, so. Or that's a magazine? He's actually got the magazine with the catalog with the, yeah, and so you've been working on the CoCo now for about 5 years, you say? And there's been a number of demos that you've shown us and little projects and things you've done. But one of the things that I would like to show, with your permission, because we've actually discussed this ahead of the show, but I want to show off, you had just posted a video to Facebook showing off a work in progress where you're doing some three-dimensional vectors on the CoCo 2 and some animation and stuff. So can I go ahead and switch over, and you can tell me which one of these things I should load up here?
Yeah, if you do a directory first.
Yeah. I have Octo, Cube 3, Cube Z, Cube X, Cube Y, Cube XY, Cube XZ.
Yeah, okay. Take Cube 3.
Okay, Cube 3. And this is, I'm running this on a CoCo 3, but we're going to run it in normal speed, but we could potentially...
we'll do that in a minute.
Speed stuff up too, right? Okay, so is Cube 3 for the CoCo 3?
No, it's all 3 axes.
Oh, okay. And here we go. And it's running. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
I'm not sure how well that translates via Skype, but it is a three-dimensional cube that is rotating basically 360 degrees and a minimal flicker or appearance of flicker, very smooth.
Okay. If you reset that, okay, right, and just do the fast poke.
Okay, which for the CoCo 3 is 65497?
And HFFD9.
65497 works too.
Now do I have to reload it, or what is to will it still remember? Yeah. Okay, so now it's running twice as fast. And this is very cool.
That's very obvious. It's running twice as fast. Nice. You rock, Simon.
In the minute you started posting these, when I started seeing some of the pictures, and sometimes when it pauses, you don't see the whole geometry of things. I was seeing things like TIE Fighter. Somebody else saw an Enterprise, and I think we're going to see what we want to see here. But the thing that I would love to see come from this is I would love to see a cool CoCo vector game, something like Tail Gunner or Star Wars Arcade or anything, because vector games were just super cool in the arcade, you know?
People are actually asking about Elite.
Yeah, bring on a Cobra Mark III.
Yeah.
Load up one of the other ones, Steve.
Okay.
Because what we're going to do is, I said to you, we're going to show it in all its axes. So if you load up Cube Z,
okay,
this is only rotating about the Z axis, which is the one that points towards you.
Okay. Okay. There is the Z axis.
I put the cube a bit off kilter so you could see it, because otherwise it would just be a square.
Yes. Davey Mitchell says, it's the Borg. Assimilate.
So that's rotating about the Z-axis.
Okay.
Right, so if you try one of the other ones, which will probably be, next one's probably, well, yes, X-axis, cube X.
And this is running on a real CoCo.
Yes.
This is not an emulator. And by the way, not only is it running on a real CoCo, but it's connected via drive wire. I'm not trying to brag or anything here. Okay.
Right, that's your X-axis.
Oh, Stevie's so proud of himself.
Well, I couldn't have done it without David Ladd's help. And
yeah, I was going to say, you should have heard what was going on before the stream started.
There's a blooper reel coming out.
Hey, Dave, don't give out the secrets.
Yeah, this is cool. It is a rotating cube.
That's your x-axis.
Uh-huh.
So if you load up your
like
cube Y, which is y-axis, which is the up and down axis. Again, the cube's off kilter, so you can see what's happening. So it isn't just.
Now, quick question for you, Simon. I know Hot Cocoa back in '84, I think it was, had a 3D program too with the semi-language listings, and it had it so you could define up to 26 points and 26 lines connecting the points. Did you base your code anything on that, or is this totally clean room implementation?
This is my own code.
Okay.
It's mad code.
Try loading up the Octo. Yes, because just to answer Curtis, I can have it's arbitrary points, arbitrary objects.
That is cool looking. Yeah, that is like a cone basically.
Yes, it's an octagonal cone.
Okay. That's very smooth too.
So run that at double speed on CoCo 3.
Okay, Grant Leedy is calling in. Hold on 1 second here. Grant Leedy, welcome to CoCoTALK number 20.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Good.
Hey, Grant.
Hello, Grant. Hey, Simon.
Yes.
Would this work well for recreating one of the Tron games that was always a fun one, which was the tank game?
Potentially, yes. Because I mean, but then we'd have to access the whole screen, I think. Because what I'm doing here is I'm only accessing a certain portion of the screen. I've got an area of like 128 by 128 pixels. This, of course, would be easy on a CoCo 3 because you don't have to worry about 1 bit per pixel, because plotting a line in P mode 4 is 1 bit per pixel, and that's quite expensive.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see some games based on this engine too, because I think we had a few. We had Space Wreck by Steve Gisking from Spectral. He did kind of the Star Trek simulator arcade port. We've had a couple of the Battlezone clones like Rommel's Revenge and Rommel 3D, but not a ton of them.
So, but it took me, oh God, I played with this for about a couple of years. And like Nick said earlier, you leave it and you go back to it. You leave it and you go back to it. And I thought to myself, well, I'll tell you what, I've got a 3-week holiday, so let me push it. Let me find out, okay, because the math really got my head. It's always got my head because I've never been good at math. So, but having to understand the relationship between sine and cosine, and thinking about, okay, to rotate a point, you need to rotate it about origo, and the sine cosine are literally 1 minus 1. It just goes from 1 to -1 in 360 steps if you're doing degrees, or 8 radians, you know.
It looks cool, and the fact that it's not a complete consistent flicker, but there is an occasional strobe to it. So it's almost like the byproduct of this is it reminds me of how a computer screen would look like when you watched it on a television or a movie. Like when you saw a computer screen on TV, it always looked a little bit out of sync with what you were watching, and you kind of saw like that little wave effect. So it almost has a CRT-esque thing going on here with that, strobing. Like
that's actually an inconsistency in the code, because like I said, this is only the first version I posted on Facebook. Flickered like nobody's business.
Right, because in the discussion of double buffering came up, and I gave my 1 cent on it because I know enough to be dangerous. You want to talk about a little bit more?
Yeah.
And we have a few people here with some expertise in that world and what it means to double buffer an image on the screen.
Yeah, load up the cube again.
All right, hold on. You're very demanding.
Yes, I have to be demanding, can I?
Cube 3?
No, Cube XZ, actually.
Why didn't you make a menu program to run these instead of having Steve do all this typing?
Because we like watching Steve suffer.
I need the practice. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Z-axis. Okay, but if you're look at the upper left corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, it looks like a little flickery cursor up there.
Pixels blinky.
Yeah.
That's because it's double buffered and it's only on one screen.
Ah.
But I have a timing problem right now.
Well, explain.
Double buffered.
Explain double buffering for an idiot like me.
Well, okay, because it takes too much processing time. Because given the CoCo has, let's just talk about it from a television perspective. We've got 262 scan lines, which is from the right from the upper left of the border to the bottom border is 262 scan lines total. The area you can see is 192 scan lines, and you have got 57 CPU cycles per scan line. So if you're doing something that's going to take more than a whole screen to complete, if we say 262 cycles, 262 scan lines of 57 cycles, this is what, I don't have a calculator on me, but it's some 16,000 cycles or something for a screen. If your routine is slower than that, it's going to flicker.
Okay.
So what you do is, okay, you actually draw the thing twice, but in two different screen areas. So this is drawing something at location hex 1000, and then at location hex 3000.
Okay.
And between each frame, it's okay. I'm showing you the graphics at 1000, and I'm now drawing at 3000. And then I'm showing you the graphics at 3000, and I'm deleting the graphics at 1000 and redrawing.
You basically never show the screen that you're drawing on. You're always drawing on the invisible screen and then switching.
Exactly.
So to use a basic, because I understand basic, it'd be like switching screen modes from one screen to the other, and you're drawing on the other screen, and similar to what I would do in basic with a P copy, but rather than doing a P copy, you're just switching screens and showing us a new screen, then you redraw it on the other one, and you switch back and you show the other screen.
Yes.
It's kind of like, so it's kind of like page flipping, but not page copying.
It's page flipping. I don't want to copy. I don't want to copy a screen because this is real time.
Right, it's going to slow it down more.
So what I do, instead of deleting a whole screen, which some people would do, because then if you wanted to have graphics over the whole screen, you probably would delete the whole screen. But I just delete the area in which the cube is plotted in. And to change the page is literally flipping one value. On the CoCo 3, this would be a lot easier and a lot faster.
Okay. Well, it is on a CoCo 3, but you mean with the poke, or if you did it in using CoCo 3 graphics modes instead, or?
If I did it CoCo 3 specific.
Okay.
You've got 4 bits per pixel, so it gets easier. You don't have to fiddle about as much, you know. And flipping the page, well, you can do that in many different ways. I mean, you can use the offset registers, or you can even use the MMU registers, switching between task 0 and task 1.
Okay. Yeah, Sockmaster said the actual reason it's flickering is because When you tell the VDG to switch screens, the VDG does not immediately switch screens. It has to complete displaying the current screen before switching. So, I mean, some of that's a limitation of the actual hardware, huh?
Well, I had a discussion with Sock about this earlier, so it's something. It's a work in progress, like I said. But this is, like you said on Facebook the other day, for a first pass.
Yeah, it's really nice.
But this is second pass, so it's not really optimized as such.
But it's cool. It's very cool, and it's been one of the topics this week on Facebook. So I think we've definitely addressed one of the other topics, which was the whole floppy thing, and then this came up on Facebook as another pretty cool thing. So yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I'm looking forward to seeing newer versions of that.
Stevie, I just sent you a link in the Skype chat there to the Hot Cocoa article I was mentioning that actually is kind of the same thing. If you go to page 108.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to have to bear with me as that page loads up. Certainly will do. All right. And then I wish Bruce, I don't know if Bruce is going to join us, but after we do this, I do want to show you guys the world premiere of Bruce Moore's Forrest of Doom teaser trailer video. What page are we looking for now, Curtis?
Page 108.
Hey, Simon, are you going to post your code at some point, or are these just examples?
Steve's got the code.
Okay, I'm trying to do this in the browser, and it's not fricking working, Curtis. Hold on one second here. 03, what page? 108, you say?
Yeah, 108.
10 All right, here it comes. All right, so let me switch over because nobody else can see that just yet. So hold on one second. I'm going to switch over to screen share where you guys can see that. Okay. So here is an issue of Hot Cocoa magazine that is getting into drawing some of the stuff out here. So where does it start? You say starting on page 108?
Yeah, you're on 110 right now. So yeah, go back up a couple pages.
108. Okay. Displaying moving graphics. Okay, so here's the article from Hot Cocoa magazine, volume 1, number 3, August of 1983. It says you can create three-dimensional objects and manipulate them in space using this amazing program. You need 32K of RAM, extended color basic, and an editor/assembler to do this. And then I guess it's getting into some of the math part of this, which is what Simon said was making his head explode. Your color computer. Okay, that's a commercial.
That's a commercial.
Another advert, huh? Which game is
Where's
this?
Mike Rowan when you need him?
All right.
But yeah, I remember fiddling with this program because you could define points in space. You define the lines that connect them, and then what X, Y, and Z coordinates they're at.
Mm-hmm.
But then you actually had the keys. You could rotate on the axes like Simon's doing under the keyboard control, and you could also zoom in and out. You could scale it.
Ah, neat. So here's some screenshots.
That's showing that little diamond shape there. They did that as an example.
Neat.
And I still have it kicking around. I have designed a few little things. I drew little spaceships and stuff. I didn't know enough about programming at the time to actually use this in my own programs, but it was fun with the demo.
And that's neat.
So Simon, that might help you with the head-hurting math too, because it actually kind of explains how it all works.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I actually have a look at it because they obviously had some of the same ideas, and given some of the concepts we have today, I mean, if you look at stuff on the C64 or the BBC Micro or whatever, people have worked out various stuff that's a lot faster than it was back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And this one actually ran pretty close to the speed yours is right now. I remember, as you probably on yours too, the more lines you add or the bigger the shape is, the slower it goes. But it ran at a pretty decent clip.
Yeah.
Well, one of the games that did a pretty well job of this too was Firecopter. Firecopter had the whole geometry-based cities you were flying through, and you had scaling and zooming, and it was a lower resolution, but it was pretty impressive too when you think about it. That that was an entire game working on 3D kind of vector wireframe based stuff.
And then Rommel 3D and Rommel's Revenge. I think Rommel's Revenge did a better version of it. And then Space Wreck by Spectral was probably the one my favorite because it was basically the Star Trek vector simulator from the arcade ported.
Okay. I'm gonna have to find that one. Yeah, but seeing these demos really got me feeling nostalgic for vector style games. I would imagine something like Asteroids is probably doable. I know that there have been Asteroids games, but I don't know if they were actually being done as actual vectors that are. Now, what about
Kieran's got a version of Asteroids.
Oh yeah.
Oh, bit work in progress, but yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah, so I mean, it's just got me nostalgic for that look. It was such a distinguished look.
The other thing is Dungeons of Dagworth.
Yes, to a degree, yes.
Very much.
Very cool. All right, you guys ready to see the world premiere of Bruce Moore's Forest of Doom trailer?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to share the sound with you guys on Skype right now. And so he sent this to me. And again, I mean, this is, I'm going to wax nostalgic here for just a second. But in fact, we've been doing this for 20 weeks. And how many world premieres have we had? I can't even count them anymore. You know what I mean? Like we've had Bomb Threat on here. We got to show off the Pac-Man transcode on here. There's just been things that we've been able to show for the first time that it's just really kind of cool. Varlock, Curtis is saying as well. So for those of you not aware, Bruce Moore is working on this game that he originally developed when he was a teenager. He lost it. He found it on a cassette tape. He's rewriting it. And now, Simon, you're helping him a little bit with this too, with some of the hybrid assembly routines. Semi-graphic stuff using your SG edit utility as well. So it's pretty cool that this is something that's been resurrected and is being finished, kind of like Bomb Threat as well, where Bomb Threat, he didn't even have the source code. He had to rewrite it. Rick Adams did. So so we're going to look at the teaser trailer for Forest of Doom. Are you ready? Here we go.
Are you ready? For the forest of doom.
We're back. That was pretty cool, though, right? That's the
I like
teaser
the I think
trailer.
part. That was good.
I think, right? No pressure, yet no commitments. And so I know that one of the things that Bruce put up on Facebook was kind of a poll saying, how would you guys like to get this game? Would you like it in digital distribution? Would you like it on a physical floppy, virtual floppy? And so I think a lot of people chimed in on that. And then there is the possibility that this could be on a cartridge, right? Because John Linville posted a blog post saying we can put a basic game on a cartridge. And not only that, but if it was on a cartridge, then it could potentially take advantage of John Linville's Game Master sound module as well. And that is always a possibility that we might see a version of that in the future that might take advantage of that. So that would be really interesting. So I don't know too much about the game. I know it's somewhat of an adventure game with some RPG elements possibly. And hopefully we'll get Bruce and Jacob to talk about it sometime in the future, his son. And maybe we'll get an exclusive interview with him here. You never know. But yeah, I can't even count all the world premieres we've had. But speaking of counting, I do want to switch over for something just for a second, because I want to look at something, because I just want to acknowledge some of the community support that we've been getting. So when we look at some of the views I've received, so number one, I've put up a couple more chapters in Basic, and they've gotten roughly 60 views a piece, and they've only been out there for a little bit of time, so that's kind of cool. But this one I found to be really impressive. CoCoTALK number 19, last week's show, we have gotten 233 views on there, and that's probably one of the most viewed shows right now. Of all of them, and it's probably a combination of a couple things. There's probably a lot of people interested in hardware, and I just think that organically things are growing. The buzz is generating, and I just think more people are getting interested in possibly catching up. But I think 233 views on a almost 3.5 hour show talking about vintage hardware. I just want to say thank you, and I'm sorry to all 233 of you, because that's a lot.
Does it track how many times each viewer nodded off during the 3.5 hours?
I don't know that we had life alert monitors connected to them or not. So, Dungeon Raid has gotten. Go ahead, Mark.
Or hit the rewind button.
Yeah, the rewind button. So Dungeon Raid, pretty good, 133 views. That's my most recent CoCo video. Bedlam has really surprised me, 209 views on Bedlam on a text adventure. So yeah, apparently there is a market for obscure, long-form, seemingly uninteresting content. There are people out there interested. CoCoTALK number 18, an introduction to OS 9, has gotten almost 200 views. That's pretty good. The Rick Adams bomb threat gameplay video has gotten 112 views. The Pac-Man transcode, where I actually played the game, that's gotten close to 200 views. That's pretty good. The Mike Rowan interviews got just a little over 100 views. That's pretty good. The CoCo surgery, where I swapped out RAM, that's gotten 173 views. CoCoTALK number 17, the world premiere of Rick Adams bomb threat, close to 200 views. CoCoTALK number 16, mess. That's gotten about 150 views. And so you can see here the number. Okay, so Pac-Man transcode, 185 views. So yeah, the number of views for CoCoTALK is definitely going up. So I'm grateful for that. And I also just want to real quickly too, I want to show off some of that artwork again, because I don't think it showed up good on the little slideshow thing that I created here. So if you bear with me for 1 second, I want to show off some of the artwork that Joel has created for us, which is CoCoTALK. So we got from here, yeah.
I was just going to say, you posted some statistics for Bedlam, and I was just looking at the countries of origin, and they're all places where the cocoa was sold, except for Italy, but we know that's Mateo.
And that's probably Mateo, yeah, right.
Yeah, so China and Russia are bumping the numbers for some reason. So.
Right, and there's no Russian hacking going on here right now. Putin has not hacked this election. And,
yeah. So I think those numbers are legit.
Well, I mean, they're definitely legit. They're just surprising. That's all. So here's, God, it's so hard to make. Okay, here we go. I like this image though. The CoCoTALK guy. It's kind of hard to see, but he's here. This is our new logo. So we got something to share here. And so yeah, this can be seen on a lot of different things, different types of T-shirts and jerseys. Here, this one looks a little bit better. Can you guys see this one? Okay. I can't figure out how to zoom in on this. But the picture of CoCoTALK looks good. Joel Adams drew this. He, this was kind of a variation of the CoCo cartoon guy he drew. These are all inspired from the basic manuals, things like that too. So it's very traditional looking. It's a CoCo with a microphone. So that's CoCoTALK. So that's our new logo. I like that. As you can see here in the picture too, I've got the new domain name for it. So CoCoTALK.live will be the domain name for this show. I'm hoping this show's future is going to be more than another 20 episodes. I'm hoping that we'll just be able to continue to talk about retro stuff for hopefully many more weeks to come. Dare I say years to come. Who knows? So very cool stuff. Very happy about that. I'll plug again that if you want to order one of these new shirts, or if you want to order any of the retro swag, that's all artwork that Joel has done, there is a promo code right now. That promo code, it gets you 20% off of the shirts. I believe the promo code is 2008-17. I'll put that in the YouTube chat again real quick too, so in case I don't forget. I think it's in the description of this video too, so if you use promo code 2008-17, get 20% off retro swag. There you have it. So we've done a world premiere. We have shown off a brand new logo for the show. We've reached 20 episodes. What else do we need to talk about this week in CoCoTALK? What else do you guys got going on as far as projects, things you're interested in seeing, things you're interested in doing, etc.?
Well, one thing I'm interested in seeing is actually if we can zoom in on Ron there and actually show off some of that CoCo stuff he was kind of displaying and actually kind of going through them, because he had some pretty interesting things in there.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do a show and tell, Ron. Okay, so this is hold it up a little bit higher. Okay, so this is deluxe color mouse. That's the 2-button mouse, new in box.
Right.
Nice.
I wanted to ask. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I was wondering how many people have met Lonnie Falk before he passed on and went to the CoCo Fest. And the other thing is, which I hopefully won't forget here, how many have gone to CoCo Fest that are present here?
I have. I've met Lonnie Falk. I've actually talked to him in person a few times before he passed away, and saw him at Rainbow Fest numerous times.
And how many of you guys have a stack of Rainbow magazines?
There's a whole bunch in binders back here.
I have a big
some
pile.
in storage.
Yep. I haven't gone through
Dragon users.
You know, I had one of those.
That was a host topic on the podcast a while back about magazines. How do you prefer to consume them? Do you like the physical paper? Or do you like reading them digitally? What do you guys think about reading the old magazines? Would you rather read the actual paper versions versus a PDF copy?
Yeah.
Yeah, actual magazines aren't so easy to come by anymore for me, so the PDFs work.
Yeah.
I like both, because if I'm nostalgic, just flipping through it and quickly hitting an ad you forgot about or something really cool. Yeah. If I'm trying to look something up, though, PDFs with searchable capabilities are much better.
Yes. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that was, and so that's where the that's where the title Neil Brookings came from. That's a nice controller. What is that? That is hold it still. We
Owl there? Is that a hard drive controller?
Owl DOS, huh?
Drive.
Yeah, it's on a ROM.
Interesting.
EEPROM on the controller.
Michael Brandt says he prefers physical. During the most recent CoCo Fest, there was a really nice rainbow collection with binders and the whole 9 yards, and Neil Blanchard was bidding on them, and Tony Pedraza mistakenly called him Neil Brookings, and that's where that name is kind of stuck from now. So
it's become an in-joke.
Neil Brookings, and sold to Neil Brookings. So technology store. Wow. Yeah, I would love to. Like, I don't have the space.
I
for
had
everything.
that copy.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
I see the CGP 220 on there.
Yeah, color printer. Got Megabug on the CoCo.
The CoCo's at the top.
Yeah, above. What's the bottom center one? Is that a Tandy 1000 or something else?
I think it's a 1000EX.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a 4P on the right, and that's Model 12 or Model 16 on the left there. I can't tell.
It's a 2000, isn't it?
The one on the left is a Model 6000.
Yeah, the one in the center is probably a 2000.
2000.
Yeah.
The one on the right, I'm not sure.
That's Model 4P on the right.
That it's so interesting when you look at the 80s, how fragmented the market was, how there were so many different systems, and how none of these systems were really that compatible. And Radio Shack themselves had so many different of their own systems that didn't talk to each other. That's the 1985 catalog.
Yeah. 85.
Wow, that's what a collection. There's the Model 100, like one of the first laptop.
Is that the DMP 105 or 106?
No, I think that's the inkjet again, 220.
Huh.
Yeah, it's the same as the front.
Wow. Now, was that inkjet or just ink colored ribbon?
No, that was inkjet. I had one of those.
Actual inkjet. Wow, that's impressive.
Powered by 6809 inside too.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just unearthed mine in the garage. It has red ink on the box.
Wow.
Yeah, there was actually a ROM upgrade. You could get it to double print, so it would do much bolder colors too. It worked a lot better. It used to be sold as an upgrade.
Ooh, thinking of that, upgrade it to a 6309 and hack the ROM even more.
Yeah, speed up the printer.
Put it in native mode. The graphics printer. Wow.
And if I remember correctly, that was actually manufactured by Canon and rebranded by Tandy, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Makes sense.
I had one of those once.
I did
wow,
too.
That's
had
something
it for years,
else.
actually.
Wow, $700.
I didn't pay that, of course.
It wasn't until probably close to the mid '90s that we get into the sub 200 color printer category. You know, when the prices dropped.
I used to have one of these, but I don't have it now. But the
four pen, the 4 pens,
the plotter.
Oh, the full plotter.
Oh, that big! Yeah, look at that.
I saw those. I never had one of those. That was
wow.
And of course, I got one of those CGP 115s.
Yeah, the one Dwayne and I used to call the toilet paper roll printer.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You had some other hardware there you were kind of whipping by with earlier too. Some rarities.
Yeah, speaking of BASIC, when we brought that up of compatibility, Steve, from back in the day, the CoCo 3, when I was using it, was able to... the only difference between the CoCo 3's BASIC and the PC's BASIC was the locate command. The XY was reversed.
There's your vector.
That's neat. Looks like a spirograph.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah, that was the little that used the 4 pens, right? Because I think I had that one for a brief period of time. Yeah, that was a neat little printer.
Slow, but
Yeah. I was never much of a printer person back in the day, and even now, I'm not a big fan of generating paper if I can get away with it. But there is something nostalgic, I think now about the older printers. There's 2 challenges that I see with retro collecting. One of them, for those of you that this applies to, is obviously the spouse component. But then the other one becomes space.
Nice.
Yeah, the graphics pad. I got one of those too. I got one of those in box like that on eBay for like $25. Nice. I had one too. When those things went on clearance, I ended up getting one. They were neat. They were really neat.
Full
the
resolution,
graphics tablet.
And you had that sensor where you could actually tell if the pen's not touching, but close.
It came with a demo program for drawing, but I had actually written my own custom program for drawing lines and circles and painting and kind of getting and putting stuff on the screen and stuff like that. That brings back memories. I've got my graphics tablet. You know what would be a great thing to do with the graphics tablet is to use that to play something like Double Back, where you could actually swirl around the screen. That's cool.
I think it's one of the ones I showed you on that very first episode we ever did together.
Yeah, that's neat, like a Flight Commander style joystick. Now, does that have the 5 or 6 pin DIN connection too, so it works on a CoCo and a Tandy 1000? I can't see it. Hold up a little higher. Okay, there. Yeah, it does. Okay, so that'll work on either one. Yeah, neat. That would be cool for certain games. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the suction pads to hold it on your desk so it didn't go flying around.
Yeah, Steve would need that when he decided to rage quit.
Yeah, because that way you throw the whole table.
What's that switch for?
Yeah.
I think it's just like which set of buttons you're using, isn't it? Can't remember.
Yeah, fire button. Select.
So if I remember, it had 4 buttons. You had the ones on the base of it, plus you had the ones on the handle, and you could switch between which ones were active.
That's right.
That's neat, like a Thrustmaster style joystick. Very cool.
Yeah, the only action you're going to get is moving.
But you had like a J&M controller you were showing earlier.
Yes, I have a J&M here with a switch on the back of it.
Wow.
Yeah, so dual ROMs, so you had JDOS and RS-DOS.
Wow.
Is there an opening on the right side of it?
No.
No, I asked him about that already.
That's neat.
But it was actually a metal case. Like the Tandy controllers were those plastic ones, and J&M actually used like metal painted black.
Yeah, these were metal. I have another one that's plain Jane without any switch.
Okay.
But it's a cool logo they had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Their memory finder, which we were talking about in the chat there, they had in their JDOS, they had a separate program for actually aligning drives, like at a high level. And they sold a special alignment disc called Memory Finder that was custom made. You couldn't create it on a computer at the time. And you could align anybody's drives, a PC, a CoCo, an Apple, whatever. And it actually had test programs built into the ROM that you could call to actually do all this. And some people actually bought that and used it commercially. It's quite a nice little program.
Did anyone ever have this big printer?
$1,500. Daisy wheel, huh?
It weighed 700 pounds.
Yeah, that's a Daisy wheel too. They were very popular in attorneys' offices.
Wow, $1,500. Holy crap.
I think we had one of those or something very like it. But
yeah, they were fun to work on.
Yeah, the little Wacom tablets, koala pads. Yeah, I have one of those too. Yeah, they were interesting. They were very popular for a brief period of time.
Yeah,
and very cross-platform too, because Apple had a program for it, Atari had a program for it, so everybody had the koala pad app. 64 too, you say?
I have one, Commodore 64 one. Yeah.
Neat. Nice collection there, sir.
Well, yeah, sometimes I debate whether or not to sell the stuff off, but, you can't play with it all.
Right.
We can just make a Ron's Corner segment to the show here every week.
Yeah, every week you can bring in a new show and tell component.
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be fun, because if you've shown some of the stuff on Facebook, you've got like the number pads from HGL, which were very rare. I only saw one or two of those even at Fest most of the time. So, and some of the other stuff that you've shown off too. There's some pretty rare things in there that a lot of people have never seen in real life. So it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I have a couple of older CoCos with the gray keyboard on it.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is that?
That's
the keyboard.
The HGL or the what was it? Marked out was a black one.
Oh, okay. So it's HGL.
Printronix had one too, I think.
Maybe. Well, I could show it to you.
4 or 5 aftermarket keyboards that were real keyboards.
Yeah.
Neil Brookings say, I still have my DMP 420 wide carriage dot matrix. Sold for $1,000. Wow.
132 column version printer.
That's insane.
We used those hook up to a CoCo. Not those. We used a Printronix P300s and Management Tallies, which were literally like $7,000. They're really, really high speed. They're about 5 feet high. But man,
while we're waiting on Ron real quick, I'm going to run a quick bumper. Let's see who's going to show up from the community here.
Hey, this is Bruce Moore, author of Forrest of Doom, and you're watching the original gamer, CoCoTALK.
How do you like that? We just got to hear from Bruce Moore, author of Forrest of Doom. So we got him. All right, Ron's back. Oh, that's a TDP 100 he's got there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like a nice Darth Vader looking keyboard there, and I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now you notice how that CoCo badge is on the left. There's been some discussion on the CoCo badge being on the left versus being on the center. Does anybody know when the line in time was drawn that moved the badge to one location or another?
So I just came back here. That's
16K
be a DRE board, CoCo 1 with a marked data products keyboard, I'm guessing?
I guess. I'm not sure which one it is. I suppose I could open it up.
Neat. Well, speaking of Bruce Moore and Forrest of Doom, Bruce has just joined us.
His
Welcome,
ears
Bruce.
must have been bleeding.
Yes. TDP 100. Yes, nice.
And distributor products.
And what keyboard do you have on there? You got a composite mod on that?
Maybe.
Yeah, it looks like a
But it
composite
also
mod.
has-
Yeah, one would be for audio, one would be for video.
Well, why is one male and one female?
Ask the guy who did it.
Because CoCo.
Yeah, because CoCo. Yeah,
So you
you
can
could,
tell them apart.
if you plug it into itself, you create perpetual energy in a time vortex. So
This thing's a little. Can you tell it's a little yellow?
yeah, and I don't think that was the original keyboard. I think they came
it's
stock
not.
with the chiclet
That's
keyboard.
the CoCo 2.
That's a CoCo 2
semi-melt
melty
keyboard, isn't it?
melty keyboard. Yeah.
It's the melted one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got one of those at CoCo Fest from Steve. What is the name? Norvioski. What was Steve's last name? The laser guy. So I got one from him. Yeah, and then I was contemplating what keyboard should I put in there because I've got a melty keyboard, I've got a CoCo 2 raised keyboard, but I just said, you know what, I want to keep it stock. I've got the gray chiclet keys in mine right now. That's a neat machine.
Steve's last name, but he used to work for Motorola for years.
Those are very uncommon, the TDP 100s. So I jumped at the chance to get mine.
They were only sold, I think, for about a year, weren't they?
Yeah.
Bruce is here. Hey, Bruce.
Are you muted, Bruce?
I'm working on it.
That's all the hardware I have for now. You could probably push my face off.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing.
Sure.
I think the idea of having a weekly little column with you just to show off like 4 or 5 things you pull out of your garage, though, because it would be incredibly interesting stuff.
Yeah, and we could mirror that with like we'll find the original article or advertisement for it too, so we can kind of read off the specs and the price of it, and then you could be like Vanna White and hold it up.
Laid out, or do you want to do it in chronological order?
Gotcha. It could be random.
Random
I
is
have
good.
random stuff in my garage.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing, Ron. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Have you watched the show before, Ron?
Yes, I watched the OS9 one because I'm interested in OS9. I've always played with it. I can move around directories and play, bring up something and, but I haven't really done anything. Yeah, I used to play with 3 windows. Back in 1985, our computer club had what's called a computer fest in the mall. And we
did that too.
We had computers set up all over the mall, and one of the things that people were excited about was having OS9 run in a terminal in one window, word processor in another, spreadsheet in another, and going back and forth and being online and still being able to take notes and then go back online. And we did it with a cell phone connection, which was one of those big block phones.
Oh, yeah.
Garage.
Wow.
That was amazing. Everybody thought, what is this world coming to, Well, they should see self-driving cars now. But
yeah, right? Wow.
We did the same thing because a lot of our local users groups, we had we'd rent a bunch of tables in the middle of the mall, especially before Christmas, trying to drum up people to join the various clubs. But it was like Amiga, Atari ST, CoCo, Tier City Model 1.3s. Like we had a whole bunch, and it was like you could see all the computers at once with the people that really loved them, those particular models, and you can compare and ask. I remember Bill Noble, he had Symphony 12, that 12-voice music synthesizer card add-on that Speech System sold, and he had it cranked through a bunch of huge speakers. We were drowning out the entire mall with it.
We had a guy in our club who wrote music, and it would play it continuously, and his name was Dave Roper. I don't know if some of his stuff is still around, but he used to be able to I think he wrote it in Musica. You know how Musica has all those notes across? Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Hey, Bruce, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad I caught the tail end.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were going to make it. We actually did show off the Forrest of Doom world premiere trailer, but I'll be happy to show it again since you are here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, everybody,
We've seen him before, I think.
We are joined by Bruce Moore, author of Forrest of Doom, and here you go for the second time, the world premiere of the Forrest of Doom teaser trailer. Here we go.
Are you ready? For the forest.
Can't take ourselves too seriously.
November
Those all actual
2017.
CoCo 1-2 graphics too, right?
Yeah. Of course.
That's BDG mode.
Yeah. Actually, those pictures are all out of this here.
Oh wow!
This
So you're
is, the holder right? Can you see it? Yeah.
yeah.
This is the strategy guide. I think this is what I'm basically going to release. I think.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't even know you had that for it.
Yeah, well, that's what the image are. The images are all from this book I just put together. I just got the proof copy. So
Nice.
What's
Cool.
your take my money?
yeah, hang on that. But yeah.
Now, Steve earlier was trying to determine whether it's a text adventure game or an RPG or combo of both. How would you describe it?
Well, you don't type in verb noun, so I guess it's an RPG. I guess.
Okay.
I think
so. But there's no high res graphics. It's text based. Well, except for this semi-graphic stuff, right? There's some of that stuff in there. But essentially, it started on a CoCo 1, so if that tells you anything.
Right.
Is it like Winnie the Pooh?
No. Not even close. But yeah, RPG. It's sort of a D&D type feel to it. Basically.
Okay.
It's funny that you know the difference.
Well, hey, I got it off the archive. I got little kids here. Do the
okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
Glenn Hewlett says the guide looks really good, Bruce. It does, yeah. So you had put out a questionnaire on Facebook kind of asking people how would you like to consume this product and what flavors and versions would you like, and would you like sprinkles, the whole 9 yards. So what do you think the kind of majority preference is?
Well, it looks like 9 out of 10 people said I should charge for it. So okay, so I think okay, that's cool. And so I think what I'm going to do is basically in this book I'm going to put a download link.
Okay.
So you order the book, and then you install the game, and you've got everything going for it. I think I'll do it that way, and then.
The download will be a floppy disk image, I take it?
Yeah, a DSK image. I also wrote a 13-minute music track for you to put on in the background while you play.
Okay. Okay. How are we going to get that?
Oh, it'll be part of the download.
Oh, just be part of the download. Okay.
You stick
Are you going to set it up for the CoCo SDC streaming too, so you can actually run it on your second CoCo in the corner?
Your second CoCo in the corner. Well, wouldn't that be neat? I never even thought about that. How many people have a second CoCo in the corner?
You mean people don't?
On this panel here, probably most of them.
Well, let's see here. There's a CoCo 2. There's a CoCo 3. Living room of CoCo 3.
Is it Dragon?
But Curtis, as you know, I mean, we were talking with Ed Snyder about being able to stream some video, through Basic 9, OS 9, and he thinks it's quite doable. So there are ideas for maybe a sequel.
Okay. Interesting. So the potential of getting this on the cartridge, is that pretty much a no-go for this product?
No, well, it's not a no-go. It's let's do this first.
Okay.
And then see if we could do a sort of an enhanced cartridge version, maybe in the spring or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Let's just see how difficult that all is, converting the sound over and all that stuff. But as we saw, John Linville posted did a blog post the other day. So he's figured out how to load up a basic program onto the cartridge and get it. So that's one major hurdle.
Yep.
So it's looking very doable. I guess the music side is how do you program that chip on there? That's the thing.
Right. Well, let's get somebody like Simon Jonas in there. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think what would work good in that case is if you had your sound routines in the ROM cartridge as machine language bits in addition to your basic program, and then you could just do little exec calls with a couple pokes to say what things you want to do, and you could actually just call it over from your game.
Yep, sounds reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be asking you for some help on that then.
Right. No, that's
I'll just
awesome.
Ask off the Simon anyway, but sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever works. No, it's great having a community here because with people able to help and I never would have really pushed this at all without the encouragement of the folks here and help and Simon helped me a lot with the graphics, the semi-graphics stuff, and it's been super. And I'm hoping to hoping to do another one.
Yeah.
Now, Simon was originally helping you at making background sound for it too. How far did you explore that?
Well, we explored it to the point where we did some tests, and I wanted to keep this a CoCo 1 and 2 project. And while it ran. It was just the basic, just slowed down to a grind. It was not the gameplay. It wasn't good anymore. We tried tweaking it, but I just said no, we can't do it. So
now, how about releasing a CoCo 3 double speed poke version of it? Would that have made up the difference? Like without changing anything else, but just allowing a CoCo 3 to run at full double speed?
Good question.
The problem was on the CoCo 2, we're running the music in an IRQ.
Yes.
The IRQ on the CoCo 2 is stuck in everything under the sun, which is not necessary.
Yeah.
So you're using 33 cycles out of 57.
Oh, you're using the horizontal sync IRQ then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the CoCo 3, we could actually use the timer IRQ and only stack the registers we needed, which would make it a lot better. That's the bad thing about the CoCo 2 using an IRQ. I think 60 could probably chime in on that, or Kieran could probably chime in on that.
It's too bad they didn't hook that up to the F IRQ instead. There's so much overhead with the IRQ with pushing all the registers.
Yes, I mean if you could get a better exit, which you probably could by fiddling something. But yeah, I mean it's 18 cycles in and 15 out, so that's a lot of cycles.
Yeah, you could see the cursor just going slow motion.
Wow.
You go to hit a key, and then it would register, and it was really.
That's the version for drunks to play because they would just think it's all normal.
I guess it would all look perfect. Yeah.
Well,
I think all these neat things that can be done. I think it would be good to do it with a new game. I think that'd be the way to go. So,
if you use Linville's cartridge with the SN chip on it, you can potentially just feed registers every frame. So that's a 1/60th of a second interrupt. So you've got literally no overhead at all.
Yeah, that would be definitely doable because I mean the FR or the horizontal sync, that's what 15,750 times per second it's trying to interrupt versus 1/60th of a second.
Exactly. So
it basically wouldn't slow down much at all. If actually, you wouldn't even notice.
However, if you do that though, now doesn't that kill Basic's timer function?
No,
you probably tap into it.
What you can do is if you pick up the vector at 10C, if you grab that address, then you install your own IRQ routine and you jump to that address afterwards, so you could keep the timer at the same time.
Yeah, basically you're a pass-through. Your program intercepts the thing, does its own little thing first, and then just passes off to Basic, and Basic has no idea anything's changed.
And so the timer actually still, it's not going to lose time? It's not going to freeze for a second? Or?
It shouldn't freeze, but it might be 1/60th slower.
It'd be so little overhead on the routine, I don't think you'd really notice it at all.
Okay.
Your speed would be pretty well 99.9%.
Well, then that would be the thing to do with the cartridge version, then for sure.
Yeah.
So Simon,
there you go. More
more
conversations.
Simon, do that too, please.
I've programmed John Linville's chip. You all heard it on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to be doing the music, why not stop there and just throw in some vectors while you're at it too? So have some nice 3D animated vectors on there too. So.
Yeah, there you go.
So this is how sausage is made, huh?
Well, you mentioned the community, Bruce, and this is our special community episode, and I want to thank you for letting us be the first people to see this little trailer and sharing it back with us. It's kind of cool, and I'm glad you could make it to the talk too. Did you get a chance to see our new logo, our CoCoTALK logo? I'll show it to you because you just got here, and I just like showing it off anyways. I'm not going to lie. So let's go back and let's find that, and then I will bring it up. But yeah, so the same guy who's done all our other CoCo artwork and all our retro artwork, who is Joel Adams, son of Rick Adams. He has done this for us, and so I need to find the picture. Let's make it big. I can't zoom in with this stupid viewer. It's really annoying me. Here we go. Here's zoom. Here we go. All right, so let me switch to full screen so you guys can see this now. Hold on one second. So everybody else can see it too. All right, so here is the CoCoTALK new logo now. And so I finally figured out how to zoom with this stupid image viewer. So you can see it's got the CoCo dude. He's got a table. He's got an old school microphone. And we even have now an official URL, which is called CoCoTalk.live. We've got a domain name for the show. And at the moment, this domain name is just pointing to the YouTube playlist, but I hope to have a website at some point in time in the future too. So CoCoTalk.live is the new official domain name, and this is our new official logo character for the time being. Pretty cool, huh?
Well, the domain name, like if I go CoCoTalk.live, and you're streaming CoCoTalk, will it be right there for me? Or?
I have yet to figure out what I want to do with it. So right now, all it's doing is it's pointing to the playlist of the previous episodes. Yeah. The problem with trying to point it to something live is that my live feed is the same live feed no matter what I'm doing. So I'm not always going to be live, and you might tune into it sometime, and I might be playing Minecraft, you know. So I have to figure that out, and maybe even open up a different channel to live stream in the future. But what I can do is I can open up a web page and embed the live stream, so when we are live, you can view it from that page. You know, we'll figure it out. But CoCo, I just thought that was kind of cool. I thought we should have a name for the show. So CoCoTalk.live kind of works since it's a live show, you know?
Absolutely.
So
yeah, it's number 20. It's probably a good time to make this kind of an official thing, eh? Have its own page.
Yeah. It started off as a kind of impromptu thing that we're talking about CoCo Fest, and then I figured, well, you know what? Maybe we'll have twice a month. We'll have at least 1 month we can talk about the podcast, and maybe we'll have something else to talk about. But we have not missed a beat, and it's been 20 episodes. That's what, five months we've been doing this, going on. And so that's kind of cool. Another thing too that I guess I can announce or reveal is that I have been thinking about the idea of taking the old episodes of CoCoTALK, turning them into audio, and then putting them up as a podcast. And so I've been thinking about that, and I reached out to John Linville. Number one, I wanted to make sure it was not going to be, perceived as competitive or anything else like that. And he was like totally cool with it. But I also asked him for some advice. How do I do it? So he's given me some information. So I'm thinking I will take the old episodes and put them up in an audio format in the near future too. So that might also feed into the CoCoTalk.live is the one-stop shop for getting the podcasts and the replays of the videos and viewing future videos live and things like that, you know.
How about did we talk about a best of?
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
A lot of work, probably.
It is a lot of work. So if anybody else wanted to help volunteer, I could make all the previous shows available. Somebody wanted to help with the editing of that. That would definitely be good, especially for audio stuff too. It's a good idea, but that's also time consuming.
Twit TV they do that with all their podcasts too, but they actually have the viewers send in their favorite segments. They'll say episode 3 starting at 30 minutes and 27 seconds in. This little bit is really good, and you get all the volunteers to give you all the work of figuring out what to put in the best of, and then you can just get somebody to volunteer to edit it.
Then that becomes crowdsourced. Yeah. No, that's not a bad idea.
Hey, Stevie.
Yeah.
I'll come up with my little logo for my little corner, hardware corner.
Excellent.
Okay. I'll get it to you.
Cool. That would be great. Yeah. So we'd love to have you on as a regular featured thing. Cool. Yeah.
You just got to think of a name for the segment, though.
Ron's Retro
Ron's
Roundup or
Garage
something like
Corner
that.
Or something? I don't know.
Ron's Garage, yeah.
Ron's Garage.
I'll do a bunch of different things, and then you can choose between them.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, so Bruce, thanks so much for sharing that with us. And when you're ready to do an interview, I'd love to get that interview with you and Jacob as well.
Okay. And some actual gameplay, because I mean, except for the fest, nobody's really seen the gameplay yet. So
yeah, well, I got to keep them guessing, right?
What is the estimated retail price of the package with the book and the download and everything?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still pondering that one. I better
to
not
be
say
determined. Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. Don't want to hold you.
$1 million. No.
Yeah, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is unreasonable to ask a fair price for what you're doing, either hardware or software wise, and I think the community supports that. You know.
Well, maybe I should just ask you guys, what do you think is good? You know, this book here, 50 pages, and then there's the game. I don't know. I'm open to ideas anyway. Maybe I should do another poll on Facebook. I don't know.
Yeah. But I believe, it's not greed, it's not capitalism. It's just, you've spent some time working on this. This is a new CoCo product. There's a value to it. And if you're not asking for $100 for it, if you're in that sweet spot of, between $20 and $60 for a product, I think that's fair,
Hey, David Ladd's picture changed there for a second to a
green he was showing a computer screen for a second. And that's what I was trying to figure out.
Well, I was actually on the wrong thing, but yeah, I can turn it back on really quick. That was just my CoCo 3.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely better than looking at your face.
Okay. There we go.
Now listen here. Listen here.
Oh, he's got Nitrous 9 running. Welcome to Nitrous 9 Level 2.
Dave, I just want to say David's been good enough to do a little bit of testing for me with Forrest to Doom. So,
did he break anything?
Yeah, I don't know. He found a couple of things that were I kind of knew they were broken, but he confirmed for me, and then he made a good suggestion about emulation. Actually, he says if people are going to play this on the emulator, you're going to want to do blah blah blah. I was like, man, I just never would have thought of that.
Okay, very cool.
That was awesome.
So David is good for something.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Mark.
So in addition to Ron's hardware corner, we're gonna have a pick on David corner segment.
Yeah, well, that's 80% of the show. That's the glue between segments. Yeah, it's good. It's been a great 20 weeks, and so we'll have a few things to look forward to as we get closer to Tandy Assembly, like the countdown to Tandy Assembly, similar to how this show started. This show was basically a countdown to CoCo Fest when we started this show, and so we can have countdown to Tandy Assembly and so on and so forth. But yeah, the fact that we're getting into the 200 views each week on these shows is encouraging. It's showing that we're building some momentum. We're starting to snowball here, and it's encouraging, because nobody's getting paid to be here. So what is the reward? The reward is, does anybody enjoy this? Does anybody even care that this is taking place? And I think 233 views of last week is a good indication of that. That's a healthy number for an obscure broadcast. What are you doing here, David? Are you just moving things around? You want to demo anything for us while you have your G shell running?
No, I was just waiting because the topic that was brought up was about the let me see if I can figure out how to switch the input source. Hello, Skype.
For as many times as you've used OS 9, have you found any bugs in it so far?
Nick's only found one bug in it so far, and it's the OS itself. So.
Well, it's just showing up.
What do we got here, David?
It's like a floppy.
That's the J&M
with the
parallel version of the FDC.
Ah, neat.
Yeah, which that parallel port could be used as a parallel printer port, which is I usually used it for, but it also could be adapted to be a SASE hard drive controller at one point.
I heard.
Actually, those wires that are hooked up, this was going to be my prototype. This right here that I've got showing right there is one of FTDI's USB to parallel interfaces, but on Windows, Mac, or Linux, it's seen as a serial interface. So like for DriveWire, it would be seen as just a regular serial USB device. And so what I was trying to do is get this hooked up as a possible alternative to the Becker interface using the parallel port that was on the J&M controller. But unfortunately, I've got some bad chips on my controller because the parallel port's not working. So I need to fix the controller before I can go forward with my testing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was a full bidirectional parallel port. You could read and write to it too. So.
And that was one of the reasons why once I found that out, it perfectly matched for almost simulating the way the Becker port works. Because it has a status register. Well, that same thing is pretty much mapped out the same way. So,
can you do me a favor? Can you shoot the cameraman?
Well, that's one of the.
I don't think he has any hands left to shoot himself. So.
I don't do very well at soldering because of that shaking. So.
At least you haven't soldered your hair like I have. Because you don't have any. But anyway.
Better just watch your stuff.
Actually, David, if you wanted, you could show that bouncing ball demo we finally found again.
Oh crap, that's on that other image. But yeah, let me because that's on the image that I sent. You're gonna have to bear with me.
I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mute you guys on Skype. I'm gonna roll some commercials, and we can all take a potty break while we're doing that. So I'll be back in about 2 minutes. Take your time, David.
No problem. I'm trying to figure out how to.
And I'm Neil Blanchard. And we are the CoCo crew. We are here at the last day of CoCo Fest. It's been crazy. We are exhausted. It's been a great weekend. One of the best CoCo Fests I can remember. I wish you could have been here. And all you have to do is make the decision and come next year. Always come next year. But in the meantime, listen every month to the CoCo Crew podcast. Thank you for listening. Thanks.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me. It's Original Gamer CoCoTALK. And I just want to let you know that I have merchandise available at my website right down here called ogStevieStrow.com. What kind of merchandise do I have? Well, you can get yourself a DVD kind of like this. This here is my DVD from 2016. This is the CoCo Fest 25th anniversary color computer gaming DVD. What else can you get on that website? Well, you can get yourself a DVD like this. This here is my brand new DVD for 2017. This is my CoCo Fest 26th anniversary DVD featuring 13 gameplay videos and over 3 hours of, or at least maybe 2 hours of, you know, gameplay goodness. Well, for a limited time anyways, too, you can get yourself the 2017 version of Popstar Pilot on my website by going to ogStevieStrow.com. And this is the new edition that will be available for sale this year at CoCo Fest in April of 2017. You could get yourself one of these here, right here, too, from my website, ogStevieStrow.com. And you can also get yourself a really cool retro swag shirt like this that says Original Gamer. You can get the insert coin logo. You can get the I'm a Coco Nut. You can get some Atari 2600. You can get all kinds of retro images on a t-shirt or a coffee mug. It's all good stuff and it's great merchandise, and I'd really appreciate it if you go to my website right here, ogStevieStrow.com. Click on the link for merchandise. Check out what we got. Get yourself some today. All right, people. All right, guys. Coming back. All right, we're back.
That's good. Okay, could you maximize the screen so I could use your feed as my monitor? Okay, thank you.
You can use my feet.
Okay, so I need... This is the one I sent to Bruce. Now I need to find the document screen for setting the stupid screen resolution. Didn't I send you that image, Curtis? Yeah, I did.
Nope. I haven't had time to look at anything anyway, so it wouldn't have done any good.
Okay, so yeah, I did. There's the image. Sorry about this taking a little bit longer because I need to get this overlaid in the right way.
Do I need to run another commercial, or are you good? Oh, here we go. We got some screens coming up.
No, because unfortunately I can't see what I'm doing unless I'm seeing it through your screen.
Ah, okay. This is the part of the user-friendly portion of Nitrous 9 where you have to type in display space 1B 0 F 1 Charlie 9 Delta.
Echo, doesn't everybody Tango. Have those codes memorized?
Yeah.
This is like the ML versus assembly thing. You just got to memorize all the opcodes.
Right.
Okay, now if I remember right, I have to type load balls, which Steve needs some.
Wow.
Ooh, David fires back. This is the first.
Wow, shots fired. Shots across the bow. Bullocks.
Okay. Okay, so load bounce.bo9. Run.
Oh, Mona Lisa. Oh, OS 9 Level 2 by Kevin Darling. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, it went from blue to red. That looks like an Amiga one, too, right? So it went from blue to red. Oh, Mona Lisa.
It's got
yeah, so this was the demo program that Kevin Darling, when he released what was called the Fast Griff patch. This was part of the Level 2 upgrade that never got released, that we're in the midst of working it.
Okay.
With it when Andy dropped the CoCo 3, so kind of a similar experience to what Nick had with Cosmic Ambush. But he released this the graphics patches to do really fast get put buffers, which is what you're seeing here. This is all get put. This is no manipulation of palettes or shifting registers. Okay. It's actually literally being drawn.
Okay.
The only palette changing he's got here is when it hits the sides, it changes between red and blue.
Okay.
But this is all in BASIC. There's no machine language subroutines whatsoever.
Wow. Pretty smooth. Yeah, it looks smoother on Skype than it does on the broadcast, but yeah, no, it looks good. It is rotating and bouncing. I don't know that the live stream is going to really be able to appreciate that as smoothly as I see it here. But yeah, it looks good, man.
But the rotation is done through actual redrawing, not palette changes, so it's not cheating. It's actually moving a heck of a lot of data.
All right. And it's got a Mona Lisa in there too.
Yep.
So were the graphics routines written in BASIC 09 also, or are they in assembly?
No, that's part of OS 9 in the graph drift.
This is built into OS 9 itself.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's basically escape code sequences. You just send it to tell it to put a shape or change a font or clear the screen or whatever.
Gotcha.
But
this is also using page flipping to smooth it out a little bit too, so that's built into BASIC 9 as well with OS 9.
It's using basic commands, but it is taking anything you do in OS 9 has to go through drivers to the operating system, though, correct?
Okay. Legally, yes.
Okay.
My play command, for example, doesn't. It bypasses it, but.
Okay.
And David, if you want to just go to another window with VD and maybe just load up the source, you can see it's not very long.
Oh, that's right. We can't do that because it's running.
Well, just hit a key or space bar. What is it to exit out? I can't remember. Enter.
You can't hit clear and switch windows while it's running?
No, because it's flipping windows. So it's...
Right, you're saying it's flipping windows. I thought we were running this in a CoCo. Flipping windows is what I have on my PC.
All right. Okay.
That was Steve taking a shot at himself.
Yes, and unfortunately he didn't do a very good job at it either.
But we laughed.
We'll let David have his moment. There aren't many. Procedure for bounce. A demo of speed using the fast graph Okay, so we're dimming some integers. We have some X and Y values that are being declared up here. I don't
the
understand.
registers there, that's CPU registers, that's just to run syscall, which is basically the way to call API calls in OS 9.
Okay.
So it's not access assembly language, that's just passing parameters.
Okay. First, let me set up the window.
Yeah, which personally, the display command, I think, should have been set up in this to start with, but...
Yeah. And Bruce, you were asking about calling graphics stuff with me on Facebook Messenger there. This is the way to do it through the library GFX2. It's not the fastest way, but it's the easiest way to remember, because it's actually English commands that are starting to memorize all those escape codes.
Library GFX. Okay.
Yes, run graphics2, and then you set your command by text.
I haven't seen any documentation for this stuff. I just find the basic 09 books. I haven't seen anything about graphics in the documentation anywhere. Is there?
The OS 9 Level 2 manual has it, and the OS 9 Guide to Windows, the Rainbow OS 9 Guide Part 2.
Okay. Oh, that's where I got to look. Not the basic 09 book.
No, the basic 09 will give you the basic 09 commands themselves. There's a separate section in there for the GFX2 commands, which is like transparent and set window and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then the Rainbow Guide really goes into detail. The whole book is about manipulating all the graphics commands.
Okay, that's cool.
So right now that we're printing some character string and H1B and hex 21. What are we doing here by printing these characters?
That's Windows. So that's just telling it to which screen to flip to when you're page flipping.
That's the escape sequence you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yep. And that's how you can do pretty much with OS 9. You can control everything via, via the escape sequences.
It's just that easy.
I'm not sure why Kevin kind of mixed it up, because he has some of the escape code sequences raw, like you just saw, and he's got other ones he's calling through the GFX2 graphics submodule, which is to remember the English versions of the commands. I'm not quite sure why he mixed it. Maybe he's just trying to demo both ways of calling them. I'm not sure.
He was just being lazy.
Or there might have been a bug, or there might have been incomplete.
It wasn't at the time, because I remember I mucked around with this demo a few times. I changed it around.
There's where he's changing the palette there. Very cool.
Palette register settings.
Well, that's a lot of code.
And that's the end of the code, it looks like.
Yeah, that's the entire thing.
And I notice here, too, that David likes his CoCo nuclear green background here.
It wouldn't be my choice, but,
Hey,
yeah, even my... and this is one cool thing I like about with the OS 9 is that I could do this. V1, I think it is. So now I should have a second VDG screen.
Okay.
So I could go, if I want, I could have a whole crap load of VDG screens instead of this window ones.
Oh. Very nice. Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. I'm looking forward to getting back to some more OS 9 stuff in the future. One of the questions that came up earlier is when are we going to have some images available? And I guess there are some images available in the Color Computer Archive. What I'd like to do, I know Barry Nelson has sent me some links that I haven't had a chance to look at yet. I'd like to take a look at what's on the archive, what Barry Nelson has, and maybe take something similar to what Bill Noble started us with and come up with maybe, just a handful of images that we know work. And here's one that works on CoCo SDC. Here's one that works on MAME. Here's one that works on VCC or whatever. And just have those 2 or 3 images. And I don't mind putting them, links to them or hosting them on my website and stuff too. So,
I can host them on mine as well. So
yeah, so that's kind of it's a plan. I don't think a lot of work has been done to move that plan forward, but that right now that's my plan in my mind. And when my time permits, I definitely want to start compiling more of these things. In the meantime, if anybody has some of these things out there and you want to help, send them to me with links and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, David and me and you and a few others have discussed too of making what Nick would term the ultimate boot, which you don't have to worry about. Do I have this driver loaded so this program works and all that kind of thing? Make one that has everything. So we're working towards that, getting utilities up to snuff. So you got the recent ones, some of the ones that seem to be missing on the actual distribution.
Grant says, "I feel sorry for David. Steve gives him such a hard time, but it's so funny." That's what we're here for. We're here for your amusement, Grant.
Oh, David, we aren't.
David's like OS 9. He's the punching bag when we need to take a jab at something. He's just there.
So, but this particular boot was obviously customized for me, but I do have the drivers in it so that the main term window is VDG. I have Vern and the other support modules, so that way you can start up like the King's Quest games or the Flight Sim or whatever.
Yeah, so that's getting close to what we want. Something where you just boot once and you don't have to worry about a special boot for this game and a special boot for that game. And
the only thing that we need to eventually take care of is this nice little issue.
Oh, Cave Walker?
Yep, because if I go right here, if I didn't fat finger my... Okay. Oh, I must have typed something wrong.
It's such a user-friendly operating system.
Sorry, was I thinking loud?
Now, of course, there's one minor issue.
The operating system?
Just one.
Which we still got to figure out what the issue is. But...
So when you try to launch it, it just freezes.
Yeah, so something got broken in the last 15 years of Nitrate, so...
Oh, I see Bruce is flipping through some pages here. I'm intrigued.
Don't give the entire book away there.
Quick, screen capture it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I flip past through the fast to the Chiefs.
Ah. So this is the Cave Walker game. Looks pretty good.
Well, it's
is this written in assembly?
Now on actual OS 9 level 2, you can start Cave Walker up from a separate disk and then have it work. So technically you don't need to put it on the actual level 2 disk itself, because that's actually how I usually play some of the old games. So
yeah, I'd like to do a little project where I can figure out how to make a hard drive and copy something like Interbank Internet to a hard drive. So that'd be just a fun little project for me to do some grassroots OS 9 little, simple things.
Interbank itself will fit on a 80-track disk image, so that's not a problem. Right now I'm trying to work with Tormod to try to get some of the issues, because with the CoCo SDC as it stands right now, you can't create a 128 meg disk image and make it bootable. This image that I'm using, that you saw me booting in, was the disk image that Bill Noble made for us.
Yeah.
And he had to patch it. So.
Ah, okay.
So that's one of the, because most of the OS 9 commands for the color computer were again designed to work with floppies, and thus all the hard disk stuff was designed to try to emulate how the floppy disk stuff worked for Disk Basic, just so OS 9 could still work That's why RGB DOS, you would type DOS 255 to boot the boot track, which I guess now is considered the kernel file. And then from there, it would then load the OS9 boot file from that virtual floppy volume on the hard drive, and then everything would go to the main OS9 volume.
And see, the more I hear about it, the more easier this operating system sounds to me.
Hey, well, what I can say is Jacob has gotten into the Sierra Police Quest game, and he's thinking it's just awesome. So OS9 is becoming very interesting over here.
Okay, at the Morehouse. That's good.
Yeah, what about the other issue about Interbank Incident using the speech sound cartridge under OS9, maybe even under Nitrous 9 as well?
If it's the OS9 level or the Nitrous 9 level 1, it should work as far as I know, especially if it's directly accessing it.
Yeah, the problem is the double speed.
Yeah, if you're running OS9 level 2.
Yeah. Now you can manually go and write a basic 9 program that does POC 65496,0, and it will slow down Nitrous 9 to 1 megahertz, and it should work under then. Of course, everything runs at CoCo 1 speeds then.
Well, I actually had loaded it using under the SDC and booted under the level 1 and did a double speed POC. It works, but I was just talking about it being just you could boot up Nitrous 9 and then boot up Interbank Incident separately, as a separate file, altogether. One file.
No, you should be able to do it. I used to do that on my old Burke and Burke all the time.
Yeah, I did it as well. I just haven't, I just got the 3 discs. I haven't merged them into as one disc or one image.
There's actually a script on disk 0 that it says, I believe, HDD install or something like that, and it copies all the files for you.
That was the first hard drive supporting game that Radio Shack ever released, actually.
Yeah, I used it under Burke and Burke years and years ago. I just did it really quick and didn't get it to work right, and so I just kind of gave up on it. And
well, here's the thing: if you was using Nitrous 9 level 2, it's also suffering from the same issue as Cave Walker. It will not work under Nitrous 9 level 2.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, the VDG, or what is now called CoVDG, broke some of the level 1 support. I don't know when that happened or what exactly happened there, but yet some level 1 stuff quit working, and it did used to work. So we're going to try to track down exactly what's going on and see if we can fix it.
Yeah, I tried to contact the developer. I found that one of the code developers and on Facebook and tried to friend him, tried to send him a message, and he never responded back. So I don't know if he goes.
Are you talking
Facebook.
One of the Spectral Associates guys?
Yes.
Oh, which one?
David Fig.
Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to get a hold of any of them, so that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, he's up in. He still lives in the Washington area, and I think it's him because I sent him a friend request and sent him a message, and he never responded back. But he develops mobile apps now.
Okay. That's kind of like Ken Rogaway, the guy that did Cronus, Rift, and Risk and Fractalist. I mean, he went and did a lot of Windows stuff, Xbox stuff, and now he's an Android developer.
What I'll do is I can send you a link to his Facebook page. Maybe he'll respond to you because he probably didn't know who I was. Probably thought I was some kind of
doesn't know who I am either, but I'll try.
Yeah.
We'll send him a link.
Well, we'll have Nick Morentis do it because everybody knows. What else can he say that everybody doesn't already know?
Because there was a couple of bugs in that game that Radio Shack never addressed, and I figured out a couple of things that I thought were bugs, but they weren't actual bugs. They were just part of the game.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's take a look at Tandy Assembly, and let's see if anything new is cooking here for the Tandy Assembly website real quick. When we look at our speakers, I guess that's all they're going to list as speakers. It's the big heavy hitters. But I know when it comes to guest speakers, there will be more. I'm assuming those will get posted at some point in time.
Well, Rick has officially said that he's going to be a speaker now, isn't he?
Okay. Oh, look at this. This has been updated just a little bit here now, too. So when it comes to exhibitors, okay, so we have me up here. We have Mike Rowan up here. We have Richard Lorbieski here of Boys in Tech. Peter and Alex Satinsky, Mark Marlette and Sandy Weimer from Cloud9 are here. Peter Bartlett and Malcolm Ramey, Colorado and Tennessee. Classic TRS-80s with modern upgrades. Randy Kindig will be here. Retro Innovations, that's Jim Brain. Ian Maverick, all the way from Australia, is coming. Maybe you can catch a ride with him, Nick.
Just ride his suitcase.
Brendan Donahue with his CoCo VGA project. Alex Hightower is going to show the Tandy model. And John explained this to me because I couldn't understand it, but he's going to have a Tandy 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, and 5000 PC-compatible systems. Retro Tinker, John Linville will be here. Evan Wright, author of Flood It for the CoCo, as well as the adventure game interpreter. Scott Adams will be here. And then Michael Brandt is he's got the Tandy font. It's called Mike's Miscellany, huh? Tandy items, miscellaneous Tandy items for sale, as well as displaying various Tandy computers and related hardware, CoCo and others. So Mike's Miscellany, Mike Brandt, my carpool partner and roommate for the weekend. Very cool. So our exhibitors have increased. So who are our sponsors? So The Right Stuff, that's Ian Maverick. John Benson is a sponsor. The world's largest TRS-80 collection. Here's Richard Lorbieski here of Boys in Tech. And Brendan Donahue is a sponsor. Floppy Days is a sponsor. Okay, we're probably going to now have to get CoCoTALK as a sponsor on here because I don't want to be left out here in all these little thumbnails of podcasts now, right? So we probably need to get CoCoTALK in there. To be determined soon. Cool.
That's where your logo can be put.
Exactly. So the venue, I just booked my room, and so they have a special rate, $90 a night for the rooms. And here's the vendor layout here. You can see here where all the different exhibitors are going to be. And the adjacent room, I guess, is where the speakers are going to be. And I like that setup. It's kind of a theater type setup here. We've got a stage and all the seating around there. I believe they've mentioned that they're going to have a no minimum bid auction, and here it is. So the auction is going to be Saturday at 3:30 p.m. So we're going to have a keynote address at 9. And this I like. I like that things are not back to back to back. At CoCo Fest, it was like speaker after speaker after speaker. And I guess the good news is there were lots of speakers. The bad news is you kind of want to be able to spend some more time in the exhibitor hall too, you know. So here we have a speaker at 9:30. That's our keynote address with Don French at 1:30 p.m. Then we have Lance Miklas. 3:30 p.m. So we've got a break there for the auction. The exhibit's going to close at 5. There's going to be a break, and then at 7 p.m. will be. This might be when the guest speakers like myself and other people might come up and talk at 7 p.m. at night. No itinerary there of those speakers just yet. So Sunday, day 2, we have Scott Adams is going to do his presentation at 9. We don't know what's going to happen after that on Sunday. Maybe that's to be determined. So. Cool.
Hey, Steve, I had a question about your reservation. Did you call in to reserve that, or did you go online?
I called.
Okay, and it's that Christopher Conference Center?
Yes, I just called whatever was on the TandyAssembly.com website. I followed that link, and I called the number. I mentioned Tandy Assembly when I called, and I got the rate.
Okay, yeah, I was going to do it today.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like I have booked... you know, I've basically paid my exhibitor's fee. I've told the event people that I'm going, but I'm like, you know what? I haven't actually told the hotel I'm going to be there yet. I should probably get that room because I'm going to need it. So I went ahead and did that. So yeah, Tandy Assembly is coming together. This is going to be, instead of meeting now once a year, for those of us who are able to, we'll be able to meet twice a year because CoCo Fest is kind of like our annual migration. Now we can have a semi-annual migration for those who can also make Tandy Assembly. And this is the inaugural, how do you say that word? Inaugural?
Sure.
Okay. It's the first one. So,
by the way, you've got a couple requests in Skype there for people that can't make it, would like some of their software demoed, like the demo from Simon, Siren, his Dungeons game. He's wondering if anybody, they're both wondering if anybody would actually display them and kind of show them off.
Yeah, I mean, I only have one table, so I can only show one thing at a time, but I can load everything up on a CoCo SDC and show things off. I was thinking about also maybe having a second setup with the CoCo Pi, because that will take up less space, and maybe run some things on CoCo Pi as well. I wanted to demo CoCo Pi today, but I'm not quite sure if I have everything working properly, so hopefully by next week we can look at CoCo Pi, and maybe I can demo a CoCo Pi too. But I would be happy to. I was thinking, because I'm bringing a real CoCo 3, and I was thinking about doing things like having the Donkey Kong Remix High Score Challenge that we talked about. We could have the now Pac-Man Transcode High Score Challenge. And in between there, I can demo other things too, if they'll run on a CoCo 3 or a CoCo Pi. So I could be one of those people. Hopefully others will, do as well. But yeah, sure. So yeah, Tandy Assembly's coming up. I want to just mention again too, real quick, shameless plug, promotion time. If anybody's interested in getting some of the retro merchandise, there is a promo code. So if you want to get the new CoCoTALK T-shirt or something else, that promo code is 200817. Right? Was that the code? I don't remember. I gotta find it. I think that was it. But yeah, so you can get any of the I'm a Coconut shirts or coffee mugs, and now we can get them in mice pads and all kinds of stuff like that too. So yeah, here I'll show you the mouse pad real quick. I'll bring
top right. Top right of that window was the promo code screenshot you took.
Top right of the window. Okay, here it is. I'll drag it over here. Here we go. So 200817. Here we go. Here's the promo code. If you go to ogStevieStrow.com, click on merchandise, this will apply to T-shirts, coffee mugs, mice pad, all that kind of stuff, right? So that is there. Like this is the mouse pad itself. So the CoCoTALK mouse pad, which you can get the I'm a Coconut, you can get CoCoTALK, whatever. So today with this promo code, 20% off. I've also made my CoCo DVDs available at half price. So just throwing that out there. If you want to grab yourself, this is the world premiere of the CoCoTALK T-shirt. It was just made available today, and you can get it on sale today. Very cool. All right, end of shameless plug. Were you waving, Ron, or are you raising your hand to ask a question?
Raising to ask.
Okay.
How come there's no ladies in here? There's no ladies in here? Yeah.
Because David Ladd is here. Is that...
Do you know any that are into CoCos, or is there anybody that knows any that would come on?
Well, we could put Steve in drag, and then we'd have that fixed.
Now, come on, we want to encourage viewership, not discourage it.
That's a great question. I know it's a stereotype. It was definitely a stereotype in the 80s that it was mostly a man's world, right? When you're playing, it was the guys and the boys and their toys, right? But do women like computers? Sure. How many women are into retro computing in particular? Hard to say.
Well, I know some in the Apple realm.
Yeah.
There have been some. I'm just trying to remember, what's their name? The one that was actually publishing the newsletter for a bit there. And Roger Taylor wrote a game with her as this kind of the star and the butterflies. What the heck was her name? I'm just pulling a blank. I should know it. But she kind of inherited. She inherited the CoCo stuff from her dad when her dad passed away, and she didn't know anything about it. And then she kind of found the community afterwards, and then got quite involved. And she was publishing a newsletter. She did interviews with Steve Bjork, and kind of put together this PDF color newsletter for about a couple of years, I think. And then I think she's gotten kind of busy with family life and work life and stuff. So she,
yeah. Well, I mean, look at the mailing list. How many responses you get that look like they come from female names? Probably not a lot, but I haven't been tracking. I know once in a blue moon we see one on Facebook. What looks like because in Facebook you can see the person's face too. Sometimes. So every now and then it does look like a female person will respond to something on Facebook. But I would say they're probably 1% of the community, if I had to guess.
Some guys' names are Leslie and Shirley.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, her first name was Mary. I can't remember her last name.
That's a great question, Ron. We need to have ladies' night where it's 2-for-1 drinks.
Even if we have to just wait, we'll just sit and wait.
We're going to have ladies' night, free drinks.
You might be waiting a while.
I know back in the day at like Rainbow Fest, there was a few kicking around. I mean, Steve's ex-wife was the graphics designer on a lot of his games, and she came out. And she knew a bit about the CoCo and stuff too. So.
And when I was back in high school, even though I went to school out in the middle of nowhere, there was one girl that was in my class that actually had the CoCos. So,
oh wow!
Too.
Ah,
so
interesting.
That's actually where I got my first pair of double-sided floppy drives. Is her father took us to a swap meet, which was the first time I ever went to one of those. So that's when I picked up my first double-sided drives for my FD501. So.
Hey, one thing my son did when he was older, he's 33 now, but he one time he took his PC and went to this place and they set up all their computers and had a game that they shared and played. You know, do people still do that?
Like a LAN party? Yeah, we used to call those LAN parties back in the day. I don't know how often LAN parties exist now because most of the newer games have all online multiplayer. But there's a couple of places. There's a new place up by me that just opened up where they are going to have retro games that you can come in and play. They have an area with where you can play card games, because I know another one that's popular is like this game that's called Magic the Gathering, and people play cards. It's kind of like a role-playing Dungeons and Dragons type card game. And I believe they were also going to set up a virtual reality area and a LAN party area in here too. So this place, I think it's called Gamers Realm or something like that. So they're looking to have a bunch of stuff in one building. But it is somewhat uncommon, and part of it is, I think, because everything is online now. There's less need for it.
One other question: how do you guys make DSK files? And take a floppy or. I used to have a PC dedicated with a 360K drive on it, and I'd put it in and suck the thing off, but how do you do it?
Well, for me, I use the CoCo SDC and a real floppy disk controller with a set of real floppy disks or floppy drives right here, because I got the CoCo SDC in slot 1, I got the real floppy disk controller in slot 4 of the MPI, and I just tell the SDC and SDC DOS to create a new disk image, and then I do the backup, set whatever specific drive number on or off, and backup between 0 and 1, or from 1 and 0, depending on if I need to back up the 3.5-inch floppy drive or back up the 5 1/4. So it's basically you're just treating the two, the CoCo SDC and the real floppy disk as a way to transfer files between the real and the virtual.
Well, how is that done? If I have the floppy controller in slot 4, and then in slot 3 the SDC.
That would work too. Basically, there's a command called drive off, which you can tell it which drive number to turn off for the CoCo SDC, which then that drive reverts to using the real floppy drive for that number. So Darren on his blog should have a list of all the commands and how they're used. But yeah, when you turn off like drive 0, then when you do a dir 0, the real floppy drive will turn on for drive 0. And then you can mount a disk image.
0 to 1?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Well, that seems like a kind of a hybrid low-tech way. There's newer tech ways too, right? Where you can use like all these other PC-based utilities to make floppies and stuff.
Yeah, except most people now have new PCs and they don't have floppy controllers.
Right.
So there's on the new machines there is no way that I know of to use a real floppy drive on a modern PC.
Well, I mean, how are you guys making all your stuff in your emulators where you're making these disk images and stuff like that?
Well, a lot of my stuff I made back when I had my 486.
No, I'm talking about right now, because I like Simon sent me a disk image today, Rick Adams has sent me disk images, and these guys are making them in MAME.
That'd be like LW Tools. And
okay, LW Tools. Okay.
Right,
So,
but see, the thing is that Wallace was talking about copying the real stuff to disk images, and right now, the viable way to do it right now is a real floppy drive controller on the CoCo and the CoCo SDC.
I didn't realize
if you're just talking about on the PC, then yeah, you can use the DECB utility from the tool shed. If you're wanting OS 9, then the OS 9 utility from the tool shed project to create the disk images, and then you can copy the files over, and there you go. But if you're trying to back up real floppy disks, then that's where you need the real floppy controller and the CoCo SDC and an MPI.
And a little drive.
Right, and then from the CoCo SDC, there is a command line utility where you could create a brand new floppy disk, right? It's like drive 0, comma, name of floppy disk image, comma, new. You make a new virtual floppy disk, and then you just use your normal either copy commands or backup commands to copy the physical to the virtual, right?
And Darren has a basic program that if you're needing, like for instance, since I've, with all the floppy stuff I've been doing, if you need to do things that are out of the norm, so to speak, then that's where you need the SDF, which is a special disk image format that stores the actual track data in the disk image. Darren has a basic program that will let you enter the file name and asks you how many heads and sectors, or not sectors, how many tracks you need. So you can go from 40 tracks all the way up to 80.
Okay.
So that
That's
way,
for copy protection and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, copy protection, or doing like what I was doing, where I was doing 20 sectors per track, which you can't otherwise do on the CoCo SDC unless you use the SDF image format. So.
Right.
Thanks, Curtis, for getting me all sucked into that project.
I broke David.
Keep piling it on.
Curtis found one of the newsletter for the person we were talking about. So that person's name is Mary Kramer.
Yeah, and if you click the page there, it'll flip to the next one. It kind of gives a history of how she got into it.
Okay.
It's kind of a sad but happy story.
Okay. Okay, why the CoCo? Why now? What's the date on this? This was done 2005. So we're talking about 12 years ago now. Okay, so some of you do not know why it is that I wanted to get started with a CoCo. Well, to me, it's a legacy handed down by my father. It is the one way I can truly get closer to him. My dad passed away when I was only 15.
Dude,
and all he left behind were his computers.
Dude, use a high voice.
I'll leave that to David. No, this is a nice little publication here too. A little history. Robert Galt wrote something in here for this publication. Very nice. Mystify.
It lasted quite a few issues too. I mean, it wasn't like a one-off thing.
A moment with Lonnie Falk. Wow, there's Lonnie. Very nice. So this publication was called Coco Nuts with a Z. Yeah. Coco Nuts. Started in 2005. That's a long interview with Lonnie Falk going on here, huh? That's neat how you can flip the pages here too. Flippy by Roger Smith, published by T&D Software number 52. That's kind of cool. Oh, look, a little seal here. That's cool. So I had like a little game review with screenshots. Very nice. Yeah. Some basic type-in programs. Those were pretty popular at the time. Very, very cool.
Very cool. Speaking of that, I have a whole bunch of Rainbow on Disk stuff.
Oh, that would be great to archive.
Yeah.
Are they archived already? Do you guys know?
Rainbow on Disk?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I have a lot of them. I can't say I have a complete set, but I might.
I believe those are on the CoCo Archive site.
Yeah, that's
I
what I was
downloaded
looking
a bunch of them.
Yeah,
that's something.
Looks like some of them at least are on the archive site.
Well, maybe I can. That'll be something I can screw around with my SDC thing.
Neat. be a fun project. Some of those projects are fun. They're just time consuming, and especially when you're talking about copying a floppy. There's no way to speed up that process, the read process, anyways. You know.
Yeah, I'm retired, so.
Nice. Oh, we could always outsource this to cheap Canadian labor, right? So we've always got that resource in the community. So. Cool. What else you guys want to talk about? Are we done beat this one to death for this week's CoCoTALK?
I've just been working on my music program, and I just wondering if anyone was interested in seeing the current progress. I'll try and share the screen.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll try and share the screen. I don't know if my bandwidth is going to be it's going to be fast enough, but how do I share a damn screen in the Skype?
The little plus symbol down at the bottom.
I'm trying to find it. Yep, I found the plus.
It's between the hang up and the...
Found it.
While you're busy doing that, I just want to say I'm an amateur astronomer, and I have telescopes and stuff, and I go out and view the sky and stuff. I'm trying to figure out what I can do with my color computers to assist me in my work, doing astrophotography and stuff like that. And I don't think there's much I can do, but maybe show.
Well, I think there were some astronomy programs on the CoCo. So
were there?
Yep. There was a couple that I remember. Most of them were like star charts and stuff like that, or phases of the moon, and some others. You'd put in like the date and the time, and then it would tell you what direction to look to find Saturn or whatever. So there's a few. There was a couple in OS9 and a couple in RSDOS that I remember.
Okay.
I might have the OS9 one kicking around here somewhere. I'll find the disk.
Another thing that you could do is, if for updated stuff, you could always write an updated one.
Yeah.
Be a good project if you haven't gotten into the basic programming or machine language.
We had you on screen for a second, Nick. Where'd you go?
Yeah. I'm just trying to bring up my screens here so I can see what I'm doing.
Okay. I noticed that nice VCC window you had there for a minute. Curtis says that the Coco Nuts is in the archive from 2005 to 2008. That's a nice run.
Mary's newsletter, yeah.
That was a nice run.
There's some pretty cool stuff in there too. It was actually kind of like the main place to talk to each other and publish new stuff there during that time period. And she inspired Roger Taylor to make the Mary and the Butterflies game. That's who it's modeled on.
Neat.
Can you see that VCC window?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the music program so far. Still a work in progress. You have that VDG screen. Can you see my mouse pointer as well?
Yes.
Okay. The area over here is a sequencer, and the area over on the right is the pattern editor. Every one of those windows is a pattern, as marked on at the bottom. It says this is pattern A, and each pattern is displayed in the sequencer in the sequence that you want. So you could repeat, say, pattern A more than once before jumping on to pattern B, for example, if it's a repeating section of the song. So that's what the sequencer is for. The pattern editor will you can scroll up and down. I think I've got each pattern at the moment holds 64 notes, or rather 64 events, and each pattern has 4 channels as marked at the top there. You've got track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, which signifies the 4 voices of the music program. 3 of those voices, tracks 1, 2, and 3, are square wave tone voices, and track 4 is a noise channel. So that sort of is similar to what the sound chips have. And at the moment I can't actually enter any notes into it. That's a part that I'm still working on. So these notes that you see there now have just been poked in there just from a basic test program that I wrote for it, just so I can at least listen and test for all the playback functions and stuff of the program. So in each of those, you can see there's 3 columns. The first 2 are the actual note. So you got C, C sharp, D, D sharp, whatever. If there's no note, then it just puts a little minus sign there just to signify no note. The third column is I don't know what you call it, but it's sort of like the effect value for that note. So the O that you see at the top is the octave, so you can choose between 4 octaves. So you set your octave, and then all your notes that follow play in that octave. The E value is the envelope, which is basically the sound. It determines whether the sound, how fast the sound raises to its maximum volume, how long it'll sustain for, and then how long it will release or decay back to silence. So you get a sort of a ding sound if you want, and you can vary that. The settings for the envelope appear down in the bottom left. Actually, any of these special effects, depending on which one you've highlighted, in here I've got this one here which says FE. So the settings for that note on that envelope setting are displayed in the bottom left corner. There are other settings like volume. If you just want a fixed volume, you have a volume setting, and another graph pops up here and shows you the volume. So for all of these, when you highlight it, its designated settings appears in the bottom left window. So envelope is attack, sustain, release. In this case, you see a I think that means a slow, or I'm still adjusting it, but it'll show you basically the speed of the attack, the length of the sustain, and the speed of the release or the decay back to silence. In the middle, of course, are just your function or your key controls, just like a menu, so you know what to do. You can change modes. I've got track 1 highlighted in red. You can just switch to say, oops, I don't want to do that just yet. I wanted to hold that as a surprise. I'll stop that. So you can switch your channels. So I can now edit whatever lines are in track 2. Likewise to track 3, track 4, or go to the sequencer and edit the sequence. So you can edit each of these tracks individually. There'll be some more other functions for copy and paste, which I haven't got functioning as yet. And to play it, I've just got this musical scale playing at the moment. So I don't know if you can hear this, or whether my bandwidth is going to allow this to sound any good. But it'll just run through the scales. It'll do only track 1 until it gets to here. Then it'll turn on track 2 and also do a scale. And track 2 is basically just like track 1, but it's just offset a little bit just to give a bit of a harmonic type effect there. And you can play with all these, but it's all, it's still in development. But I'll hit play again. I don't know if that's working correctly, but can you hear the sounds?
Yeah, I heard it. Oh, yeah, the second one was the second pass was polyphonic. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you can mix them all up. So, but as you can hear, I can change the envelope on the make the sound decay for longer or make it quicker, or I can just turn on the tone so it's just a constant tone. You do get some good effects when you do mix two tones together. You can get a harmonic going, and it sounds pretty good. The 4th channel will be doing a noise channel, so it can sort of do a simulated drum type effect. Overall, it sounds very similar to the chips that you see around the place. That's what I'm modeling it on anyway.
Okay.
And as you saw when I did hit play, what I'm doing this morning is actually getting the VU meter working. So when you saw the notes playing, you saw only one channel of the VU. I haven't programmed the other 3 channels yet. So, but yeah, it just moves up and down and you see it. But there'll be 4 of those. When you have 4 notes playing, you'll see all 4 move. And I've got to change the text here. It's not ASR, it's VU now. But it's work in progress, as you can see.
Sounds good.
The idea. Now, this is really started off as just being a tool for me to use to generate the music I need for my game. And, of course, it's ballooned to something that's almost like a full-blown program in its own right, and I probably will release it as a full-blown program anyway.
Man. You got a name for it?
Sorry?
You have a name for it?
G-Tracker, Game Tracker. So it's modeled a bit on the trackers of the Amiga, but I do it just as a simple tool for my music within games, so I call it G-Tracker. You can at the moment I haven't got any files to load, but if you do Shift D, you go back to the front screen where you can just go and you choose your default drives and you can load stuff up and do whatever. At the moment it's just poking random data when I do that. So just let it poke away, and there it is. Yeah. But that's it so far.
That's neat.
Yeah. So hopefully, it will become a program that other people could then use to create songs to put into their game. The songs, all the notes, all the sounds are being generated via software. So there's no samples involved at all. It's making the tones, it's making all the envelopes for all the channels. The only extra memory that it uses is, of course, all the note data. So that's all it stores, the actual song itself. So it's very economical on memory. It can't run at the same time as a game. It's not meant for that sort of thing. It's just to play music, say, at the title screen or the game end music or whatever. But during the game will have its own sound effects that you would have heard last time or off my other chapter 2 in the blog page. But yeah, that's where I've been wasting my time lately.
That's brilliant.
Very cool.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Another world premiere this episode. The world premiere of G-Tracker.
Well, it's not finished yet, but yeah, a preview, I guess, or work in progress preview.
Sneak peek.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, one time I made a program. I had a satellite dish in my backyard, and it was about 50 feet away from the basement. And I didn't have any way to track the position of the antenna. And if I go too far, it would jam. And I didn't want to go too far. So I came up with a joystick, one of those black joysticks. And I was able to put a stick on the joystick, and then I programmed a program to read the joystick. So I knew where the antenna was turned from one side to the other. And that was a pretty interesting little program.
Huh.
So, it worked.
With real-world application.
Yeah.
Could you actually steer the antenna with it too?
No, I steered with the antenna device, that makes it steer, but it didn't have feedback as to where it was.
Okay.
It must have been cheapy,
Yeah, yeah.
But,
oh, well. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. There we go. Anybody else got anything else they want to talk about this week for our CoCo Community Chat?
A lot of great stuff presented.
Yeah. That was kind of nice to not have a topic or an agenda and just kind of let the conversations flow. That was pretty good.
Is this your longest CoCo talk yet?
Almost
4 hours.
Well, last week 3 hours. It's about this
3.5.
Yeah, about the same time as last week's hardware talk. Yeah, so It was good.
By the end of the year, we're planning on it being a 24-hour round.
Yeah, well, it'll be a marathon. Yeah, so we're gonna raise money. Ends. We're gonna raise money for David Ladd.
That's for his Rogaine fund, or?
Oh man! Wow, Curtis.
It's hardware lab. You need some more equipment to test with.
Ron, thanks for joining us. It was great having you. It was great seeing some of your collection there. Bruce, Bruce,
yeah, I'm
thanks
looking
for
forward
being
to seeing
here.
The rest.
Great to have you, Bruce. Let's say some hi to some people in the chat right now. Who do we have? We had a really active chat today too. So Glenn Hewlett was been in chat. Steve Powell was in chat. Jerry Adams was in chat. Richard Cavell was in chat. Davey Mitchell was in chat. Jerry Adams, Big West Purdue, Grant Leedy was in chat. Norlander was in chat. Gerard Dresch stopped by for a minute. Neil Brookings, the great Neil Brookings was in chat.
The real one.
Yeah. Who else have I not said already? Obviously, some of us were in chat too. Curtis was in here. Jerry Adams. Somebody named Fart Power stopped by for a bit. Had nothing redeeming to say, so we kicked Fart Power out. Mark Overholzer was in here.
Well, I had something good to say.
At least Mark had something good to say. Yes. Have I missed anybody else in chat? Glenn Hewlett, I got you. I think I've addressed everybody who was in the voice chat. Thank you, all the text chat, I should say, and then thank you everybody who was in the call as well. So we have Mark Overholzer and Ron Delvaux. How do I say it? Delvaux, right? Wayne Campbell, Nick Marentes, Grant Leedy, David Ladd, Richard Lorbieski, Curtis Boyle, and Karen was here. And Richard Cavell was here earlier, the birthday boy. He was here as well. So happy birthday again, Richard.
Bruce.
And Bruce Moore was here too. Yes, that's my problem. I get old, I forget things. Yes, Bruce Moore with the world premiere of the teaser of Forest of Doom. So yeah, another great CoCoTALK. Don't forget, if you want to get the world premiere of the CoCoTALK logo on a t-shirt or coffee mug or any other thing, prophylactic, what you name it, we've got it. Use promo code 200817 at checkout and get any of your retro merchandise at 20% off, or grab a CoCo DVD at 50% off on my website. And good times. Good times. Thanks everybody for being here. Any suggestions on what we should talk about for next week?
I think the moral of the story is don't have anything planned and we'll just go forever.
Yeah.
It's working so far.
It's working
your
so
Cocoa
far.
Pie thing would be one thing to go
Yeah,
over.
Cocoa Pie. Hopefully we'll have that sorted out by then. We can demo Cocoa Pie. And other things. I'm sure something else will come up on the list. Or something else will come up on
see
Facebook.
What else I break.
And see what else David Ladd can break. Yes. So David Ladd, breaker of things. So
David's crash and burn corner.
Crash and burn corner.
I think the next thing David's going to break is my nose for my last comment. So
yeah. But don't forget
we're not neighbors.
Yeah. Don't forget to check out the latest CoCoTALK swag at the Retro Swag Shop. And this has been CoCoTALK number 20. And good times. Good times. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I look forward to more great talks in the future. Until then, we got a couple of different quotes. So I always like to use the quote that I stole from John Linville, which is, you may only be young once, but you can be retro forever. We have Long Live and Prosper over there with Ron. John Mark Mobley just showed up. Little Man Computer Assembly Language Intro. Yes, John sent me an email with the Little Man Computer Assembly Language Intro. Assembly language, John is suggesting as well. Yeah, we will definitely get into assembly. And maybe we'll have time to look at the demo thing he sent me too. Good. All right, guys. We are out of here. CoCoTALK, CoCo forever. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.
Later.